This is Brightside Home Theater. Hey, home theater nerds, welcome to the Brightside Home Theater Podcast. The home theater podcast, it's all about the experiences, the sights,
the sounds,
the scenes.
Scenes. Hey, boy, just like we did in rehearsal.
Yeah. I can get the enthusiasm up once, twice, right. Pushing it.
I'll remember that next week and make sure I hit record. Yeah. Brockstar says rookies.
Hey, it's not helpful. John and I are okay.
I did my part.
I resemble that remark. Yeah. He also says DJ must be sloshed already. I wish. No, that's for the weekends. Oh, Mark had jumped in too. Howdy, gentlemen. How you doing, Mark? Yeah. So let's get to this. Busy week. How's your week been, guys?
Pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. Busy, but all good.
Nice. Store doing well, John? Picking up for the holidays at all?
Yeah, a little bit. Last week was a pretty good week, and started slow this week, but hopefully it'll pick up. Again, close to Black Friday, so it should be good for the next 2 months or so.
Cool. I had a listener inquiring about your store today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's up here in Mass, but...
Not someone from the IRS, I hope.
No.
Anywhere in the U.S.
Yep, and that's what he said. He asked if you had collectibles and stuff, and I was like, yeah, he's got all sorts of stuff there. He has a website, and got me to thinking, we got to put your website on my website. So link in the show notes.
You can do that.
You can link Arkham Comics and Games. Go and check out the collectibles there. Maybe you want a little knick-knack for the back of your theater like me.
There you go.
I was saying to John, DJ, before we started recording, I was saying to John that I've already been stalking him on his website.
Oh, nice.
So I've already checked it out. There is a picture of him on the, if you go onto Google and you type it in, there are pictures, and John is in one of them in the corner of the store. I don't think he knows he's being photographed, but
don't let that scare you away. But
that's funny. Yeah. Let's see, what else? What else do we got going? Yeah, that's good. What do we do from here? We do some promo stuff because we got a lot of promo stuff today. Obviously, all of our donations that we're doing this month, I'm going to lead off with this for Movember. Donating to Ryan Davies. Links are in the show notes on where we're directing it. You can donate directly to Ryan Davey himself. And he's from the #Dork podcast, and he's been doing this for years. Last I checked, he was up over $1,500 already. His goal is $2,000. I haven't given mine yet, or I haven't given the 100 that's going to be coming from us. But if we can help him out, that would be great. Get that number up there. Movember goes towards men's health. It started off with prostate cancer and has, evolved into overall men's health, meaning prostate cancer, mental health, all sorts of men's health issues. So that's what we're doing this month. And also, you can find us on Twitter at BrightsideHT. You can email each of us, DJ at BrightsideHomeTheater.com, Steve at BrightsideHomeTheater.com, or John at BrightsideHomeTheater.com, but we're not sure where that one's going yet.
Yeah, I don't have access to that stuff.
I know.
I don't know.
I
wouldn't keep saying it because
I know, but eventually we're going to figure it out, and we're going to find out where that access for you is, and then you're going to have all these emails from people. You won $1 million.
Yeah, I'm a Nigerian prince.
Yeah, we think you're the most handsome member of the show.
I know they're lying then. So
while you're talking about that, DJ, I've actually been having a steady stream of emails using that because I'm obviously teacher's pet, so I've been getting lots of emails. DJ, I've been getting them. But I just want to quickly say thanks to everyone that's sending emails. Sometimes I'm a little bit slow at getting back to them, but it's been really nice. Really, everybody really friendly, really nice, just reaching out to say hello. So it's very cool.
All right.
So thanks for that.
If you cool, awesome. If you ever have one that you want to put into the show, like as you said, you're getting a steady stream. If somebody's talking about something, to to you. Just
Okay.
forward it to
And
me
if any-
and we'll add it to the show. I'm going to start sending you all the stuff. I meant to do it today, but you saw my early show prep. I want you guys, because we're going to start reading back and forth. Who knows? I like this Tuesday thing. And if you can do that, Steve, I mean, we joked about it before. So things going forward, I mean, I like having it separate every now and then. I think I'd like to go in that direction. So, but we'll see. Schedules, it's tough, when we got this many people. So, but yeah, everybody, you can write to me. If you're not getting a response from John, email me and I'll forward it on to John's other accounts.
Since Steve said that, if I am not responding, it's not because I don't want to.
there's a hiccup there.
Because I literally don't have access to it.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Good excuse. I like it.
The other one is...
I really do, but I'm just saying no.
Yeah. A lot of hubbub lately. We don't get into the hubbub, but John and I both joined Mastodon, and a few listeners are already over there. It is very quiet. It's weird. Right, John? It's like you fished around there, right?
I haven't done much. I basically claimed my username, put a picture up on my profile, and I have no messages, or I'm not following anybody except for the few people that you were following. So I'm there. Travis from AV Nirvana. I think
Mike Schramm's already there. Dan is the one that got me to go over. He was the first one, and I was like, you know what? Why not? It's like, might as well get your name. Danny Speakers is over there. And
I figured at least, claim my name.
And here's the other thing. Just for it, I mean, a lot of people they're not on Twitter at all. Never mind, there are people that are jumping ship and whatever. I don't have a problem with Twitter. The only thing I see is people telling me there's a problem with Twitter. Dan actually had a problem with the settings and stuff, so I guess there's some hiccups going on. I haven't seen that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying I go on and I look at my mentions. That's it. So I haven't had an issue. But if anybody wants to join Mastodon, and because you've never liked Twitter, jump on there. It's like, because it's starting the community. It's really small. Todd and I were joking on Mastodon, like it's like you're in a cave, because it's like just a few people all alone, and you just don't have that influx of everybody else. And I mean the good way. Like you don't get the tweets from like Ralph Potts. You don't get the tweets from all the guys at AV Nirvana. You don't get the tweets from, HD Report. You don't get all the community that I've developed in my own Twitter verse. I don't have that. And so, but it wouldn't be bad to have it in two places. So let's start it up there if you're interested. The other way, I didn't even tell you guys this. I didn't have time. This is one of the things I meant to mention to you in the green room. There is another way to get into the green room because of all this. There's you know me, John, Steve. I don't like money. I'm not big into that. I don't like it to be the focus of anything. I don't need money. But if you want to donate, John, where can they go?
Patreon.com/Brightside Home Theater.
There you go. So if you want to support the podcast, that'd be great. That's a monthly donation. Everybody knows what Patreon is. Appreciate it. You can buy us some popcorn on the website, PayPal. If you're comfortable with that, that'd be great. But if you've been on the show, you can get into the green room. Those were the two ways. Pay or come on the green room, come on the show. Well, now, if you're a regular contributor or you send an email, and ask that you want to be in the show, get into the green room and tell me about your theater and stuff, I'll let you in the green room. Because a lot of people, they don't have the means or they don't want to pay, and I understand that. But a lot of people aren't comfortable coming on the show. And I was trying to think of another way. Like you said, Steve, you got a bunch of people emailing you. I have a bunch of people that email me, but they don't have time to come on the show, don't want to come on the show, can't pay, don't want to pay. I understand that. I don't want it to be a paywall. But if you're a contributor to a regular emailer or something like that, and you want to be on the show, let me know, and we'll get you into the green room, because I just don't want it to be open to the general public. I just want it to be my listeners. So all I want to do is converse with you before, and then you're in. So it's great. we're streaming to the green room right now. There are people in here talking, chatting while we're recording, and having some fun. So that's it. That's the fun stuff for today. Our promotional thing. What do we got? What do we got for tweaks?
Stay well away. That's tweaks. No, staying away.
Nothing?
No, nothing this week. Stayed well away.
All right. Well, I have a few because I have my own. So I messed around with my Lumagen settings some more, experimented with a few things. New update was at the time I wrote this my tweak. There was a new update coming, and it dropped yesterday for the Lumagen with instant aspect ratio. And I sent it to you guys, and what did you think?
I mean, it was pretty seamless. Looked good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So what was happening before? What was the difference with it before you had that update? Because I could see it, obviously, the aspect ratio. I think I could see the aspect ratio changing.
right.
But what was it doing before? Was there a delay? Was it just not doing it? What was the change?
So what the Lumagen, what if you tried to watch either of those clips? So to let the listeners know, the clips were Nelson, one of our listeners, sent me those clips, and he updated his Lumagen, and he has a 240-to-1 screen. And before, you either had to watch it in all the entire, like say Top Gun Maverick, you'd have to watch it in that 16:9 with the panels on the sides. You'd have to pick one or the other because the Lumagen wasn't capable of switching aspect ratios that quickly. Okay.
Okay.
So you'd have to pick one. It could do one or the other, but you would, and like I talked about last week with mine, I can pick just the 240 by masking off the top and the bottom, and that's what I get. But now somebody with a 240-to-1 screen actually gets the reverse of what we get, Steve, with a 16:9 screen where it goes larger and then smaller. This one goes, the 240 is obviously what you saw, and then you get the bars on the side, but you get the full image. No distortion, no nothing. It just shrinks down that IMAX enhanced portion, right?
Yeah.
And one of the clips that he sent was from the opening from Star Trek Into the Darkness, which is like ridiculous how many times it flips back and forth.
It was crazy, yeah. I didn't realize watching that movie that I haven't watched it in quite a long time.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it had that many changes in aspect ratio.
I know.
That would drive me crazy.
See, here's the thing. I think it's more noticeable in the 240 because it just goes, whereas the larger aspect ratio, your screen stays pretty much the same, and then just all of a sudden something goes away. Whereas when you go to the 240, everything gets smaller, right?
Right.
And it's like in Top Gun Maverick, when they're close up on their faces, when they go to the IMAX enhanced, the head doesn't change.
Right.
The size doesn't change. All that happens is the black bars go away, right? And that's it. So I think it's just way more noticeable, but some people prefer that. And I don't know why, because even Jim Peterson, who, owns Lumagen, he didn't want to do this, but the customers wanted it. So and he even put out on AVS Forum like a week or so, 2 weeks ago, saying it's coming. It'll be here any day now. We're just tweaking a few things on the update. He goes, but just to be clear, I didn't want this. This isn't what the studios want. This isn't what the director intended. And he goes, but the customers want it. And if you want to have this setting, and he went on to explain how to use it and stuff. So, but it works really, really well. It's, and here's what I wanted to discuss with you. And we discussed a little bit today. I think personally, and I want to get your opinions. I think this is all because of Mad VR and Maverick. Those two have pushed the market to like, hey, let's try this, and it's because up until now, this hasn't even been an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously I come at it at a slightly different view from you guys anyway, because I'm watching on a TV
Right.
rather than a projector. So of course, it doesn't impact on my viewing. Personally, when I saw those clips earlier, where you've got the 2.35 screen, and then when it goes to sort of 1.85 and then out again, I'd find that more distracting than I would
Right.
watching it on a 16:9 screen that then go, black bars and then no black bars, then black bars. I actually quite like that. But I think on a screen like that and that size, I'd find it very distracting personally. Yeah. But at least you're getting, if that's what you want, that's what you want. It just seemed to sort of really draw attention to itself more than it normally might. But yeah, I'm no expert on the the Lumagens and the Mad VRs. It kind of passes me by. So, but what I saw in that clip did look interesting. But I can see how it might not be what I'm not surprised. So shall we say that Lumagen are a bit? Yeah, do you really want this? But it's nice to have the option.
Yeah, it is. That's the thing. It's fun that they're doing this, and he's doing it for the, Lumagen's doing it for the customers. I personally, if I had a 235 or 240 screen, I would just go stand, like I said last week, I would just watch Top Gun in 240, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like I did with Aquaman last week. I found that to be a better experience. But the option's there. And it's fun to see that, like, Lumagen's like, I can do that too. I think as a consumer, I think that's hysterical. What do you think, John? Because you have a projector. You have I
have a projector, but I have a 16:9 screen. Now, again, I don't envision myself using that feature on my screen, even if I don't have a Lumagen yet. I may. But if I had a 240 screen, I don't know if I would try it out or not. I would probably, like you, just leave it in the 240 aspect ratio and not have it switch at all. But I also, again, more choice is better than. Choice is always the preferable thing, right? So having the option to do it, even if you don't want it, is always better than not having the option at all. So, but I don't know how many people will prefer that way of watching.
No, and that's the thing. It's like you think about. The projector market is smaller than the home theater market, right? The overall home theater market, and then when you get down to it, the 240 screen is smaller than the projector market. Right. So it's like when you get down to that nitty gritty, but yet you still have manufacturers competing and being driven by the content, which I think that's why I like when people like directors, artists, they push the envelope, which pushes technology, which who knows what's going to come out of this. And kudos to Mad VR for doing this too, because Mad VR just came out with it in over the summer, where they unveiled this, and it was like the videos came out like, look you can do this now. And I was like, why would you want to? But great. But you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't available before, but now with the video processors, look at what you can do. And who knows what's going to get uncovered from this, but I find that fascinating.
It is good to have have the option, and that they're tinkering with the tech is a good thing. And it's definitely, well, we say Maverick, and yet I wonder if Maverick just has been such an overwhelming success.
That's what it is.
It has then just drawn attention to something that's been there for a while. Because we talk about Star Trek Into Darkness. I absolutely love the opening of that film, and that switches ratios, and it's one of my demo sequences. We may talk about that later, but that's one of my demo sequences that I show people, and even people that couldn't care less about home cinema, when they sit down and see that, they're just like, oh, okay, yeah, that, all right, fine. Now I see what you're going on about, and so that's 2017 maybe. Yeah. So it's going back a bit, and that's got them. Aquaman's got them switching ratios is not new, but, right. But yeah, it just seems that Maverick has just drawn attention to it and put it under the microscope because of just the runaway success that it's been.
And I think it's a perfect storm of Mad VR going to Cedia and being such. I think one of the now this is kind of like chicken and the egg. Mad VR is scheduled to be, they'd been at Cedia before, I'm sure. Maybe not. I don't know, because they are fairly new with the NV and NV Extreme and stuff. So Mad VR has been around as a program for a little while. But being at Cedia this year and the presence that they had, it's like what people talked about. I mean, they just kind of exploded on the landscape, right? But at the same time, did they explode on the landscape because they were going to be a presence anyways? Or was it that we now had Maverick dropping right before Cedia on Kaleidescape, which was all over Cedia, right? So you had people talking about the popularity of Maverick, and then you have a company going with the variable aspect ratio, that has a solution to that for people that are complaining about this coming out a few weeks before Cedia, and that the 240-1 crowd was upset. They're like, oh, I hate this stuff. And it was kind of like perfect storm, chicken and the egg, which came first. It's like, yes, we had VAR before this, but Mad VR is showing up this year, and just like I think it just all kind of exploded. And then, like I said, here we are like 2 months later, and Lumagen's like, I got an answer too. Like, and it's like, why didn't they do it before? I honestly don't think that there was a huge, people wanted it, but it wasn't as big of a call for it as there is because of Maverick and Mad VR and them demonstrating what they did at Cedia.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned Kaleidescape as well, because didn't you say that not that long ago, Kaleidescape only had fixed, again, stagnant, was it stagnant or static?
I said that, but I was incorrect. Yeah, I know, stagnant aspect. I was incorrect
Stagnant.
because I assumed, because like Dark Knight, for instance, is a variable aspect ratio, but on Kaleidescape, the 4K version is stagnant.
Fixed.
It's fixed,
stagnant.
right?
I love that.
Yeah. And then there are other movies that are stagnant when they're supposed to be variable aspect ratio. But then again, like I said, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, now Maverick, they all have variables. So it was more common that they didn't have variable aspect ratio than it was that they instituted it, right? So I kind of, most people that I talked to before I got my Lumagen, most people that get a Lumagen, they think, oh, when you get that, you don't get variable aspect ratio. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's because most of the movies, I wasn't a big fan of it. But then you find out. So now it's this. And then, like I said, had this not come to disc until November, it didn't come to disc till November. Had it not dropped on Kaleidescape, it wouldn't have been a demo scene at Cedia. I mean, they would have used something else. They would have used any of the others. I'm sure they would have demonstrated it. But I think it was just that talk of Maverick leading up to it being variable aspect ratio, Mad VR having a solution to it, and then it just blew up. And I think that shows, honestly, the power of the consumer, right? And that we vote by Twitter, internet, all of that was one vote, and people's purchasing power. I think Mad VR sold pretty well in the last few months. I mean, we've had we've had listeners buy them, and I know other people have bought them since then. So it's, and they're not cheap. No. They're not cheap. They're like, they're more money than a Lumagen, but they had that feature. So I think that's awesome. I think it's super interesting. So see where it goes. Johnny Oh, and the tweak I did because of that, and it's going to come up later, but I also tightened up and cleaned up my vertical masking for watching 133-1 ratio. And we'll talk about some movies later that I can't wait to talk about that I used it on, but I tightened that up and, made a little, so it fit in a little bit nice. It got a little bit loose on me, so I had to fix that. So, Johnny Speakers, he had a tweak this week that he sent me on a DM with some pictures. He said, did a tweak I think you'll like. Front stage is completely hidden now. So he had on his front stage of his room, he had his speakers sitting out, and now he's taken everything and put it behind, more stealth-like and everything. And he sent me some before and after pictures, and it looks really nice. And he has a 240-1 screen. So looks really good. Jonathan. Now, this one here is, Jonathan emailed me earlier this week. This is a tweak he did. And I feel it's a longer email, but I feel bad. But at the same time, we'll talk this through. But he said, hey, DJ, this weekend I made a tweak to my Sony VPL VW325 ES projector, and I wanted to get your take. As discussed previously on a Takeover Tuesday episode, I had the projector professionally calibrated this year. The calibrator worked in reference mode, and that is the mode that I've been using to watch all streaming and discs. I've always felt that the 4K discs look darker than streaming. I never felt like the 4K discs looked better than streaming, although tried to convince myself they did. The audio was always superior on the discs. This weekend, I had a friend over who is knowledgeable about home theater. We were watching Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and I asked him what he thought of the setup. He said the sound was great and he loved it. I asked about the picture. He said it feels too dark and not punchy enough. He expressed what I have been thinking for 6 months, but unwilling to admit due to having paid for a professional calibration. We started playing around with different picture modes, eventually landing on Bright Cinema. We both agreed the picture was far punchier in this mode. Jurassic World was pretty much all very dark scenes, but it looked great. We put in Top Gun Maverick. Have you seen this film? To get some bright scenes, and decided to increase the color from 50 to 58 for better saturation. All of a sudden, it was like watching a brand new projector. We watched the climactic raid scene, and the picture was punchy, colorful, and outstanding. So going forward, I'll be using Bright Cinema for discs. This is an example of home theater mental hurdle where I felt like I had to use the professional settings because they are supposed to be the best and I paid for them, even though I really never thought the picture was all that great. I am much happier now with the new settings. So he goes on to talk about some scenes that he did from there. But one of the things here, and him, Jonathan and I talked about it after, his calibrator didn't give him 2 settings. So when I had mine done, and I have the same Sony just a year model earlier, right? And he gave me 2 settings, one for 4K HDR and one for SDR. And that would brighten things up. And his calibrator didn't do that. So what I had recommended to him here is go in, take all of your color settings, because that's what the calibrator is doing, is he's really getting those color points dead on to that triangle. And he's trying to get, that's what's going to base all your other colors off of that. So that, you need a professional to do that. Your grayscale, on the other hand, he's going to tweak that as well. He's going to get it as close as he can get it. And it's always good to do that. But that's something that you can do with a disc. John and I have talked about this many times. Getting your grayscale, it's just as important as the color, but it's a little bit easier for the user to do. So what I suggested is take all your color settings and copy those over to, say, Cinema Bright mode. And then if you had a test disc, I use Video Essentials DVD or something like that, try to get your grayscale in HDR mode, try to get that to what you want to see for your brightest brights, your darkest darks, and all your grays in between. And he's been doing that since, and it's worked for him. He's loving what's going on there. But I like what he said here, and it's like that mental hurdle, and I feel bad that he even thought this. And like you said, you do something, you pay some money for it, and you don't want to say anything because you had a mistake. And I don't think it's a mistake. I just think I know who his calibrator is. He's in New Jersey. I have another listener that has used him, and and Jim knows him. I don't know why he didn't set it up that way, but he didn't. And he didn't make a mistake with the projector, but I think he should have had 2 settings, and I feel bad. I know John has had this too. John, you had not this issue, but the mental hurdle thing, right? Where you kept doing, the one we laugh about all the time is you kept calibrating your room, but you never loaded it, but you didn't know the difference. But you think all those times you did it, you thought you saw and heard an improvement, right? And it's just, you think you did something and it happens. Do you ever have anything like that, Steve?
I mean, again, I wonder if that's more to do with projectors rather than a TV, because I had mine professionally calibrated by the calibrator, basically in the country, if not, Europe. And I didn't get 2 settings for that. I got different settings depending on different different stuff that's being shown. So whether it's sport, obviously, whether it's cinema stuff, whether it's
Lights
games,
on,
whether it's 3D, all that stuff. Yeah, so I had all those, but I wasn't given two different settings, whether it be at 4K or SDR, HDR or SDR. I only got one lot of settings, but again, it's in a light controlled environment, so of course it's always going to be the same. There's no issues with day or night or anything like that, and of course my particular TV does very well with both. It does really well both HDR and SDR, and at the time was the industry standard, was the benchmark at that time. I'm not sure. As I said, I've not been given those two, and I've had several calibrations done professionally over the years, but again, always been in a light controlled room. So yeah, I think probably what would have been better might have been if the calibrator had explained to the listener the situation and said, look, this is why I'm giving you this is why I'm not going to give you two different modes, because you don't need it, in his opinion, or that sort of stuff. So perhaps having, I don't know what sort of dialogue he had with the calibrator. I mean, my chap, you and I have talked about it before. My guy said, I was quite prepared to go and busy myself and then just walk in at the end, because when I'd had it done before, that's what had happened. The guy said, right, see you in a bit, closed the door. 5 hours later came out and said, oh, here we go, and here's your 3D glasses, those are yours, don't let anybody else use them, because I've calibrated it to that. But this particular chap was like, where are you going? And I said, I was going to go and have a cup of tea. He said, no, sit yourself right there and we're going to talk. Right. And literally, great. I mean, it was a masterclass in calibration. And then at the end of it, then we watched a load of scenes together and just geeked out. I think so. Perhaps some dialogue with that particular calibrator might have been better to explain the position more. And then, of course, he might have been happier with the results. I wouldn't want to put anybody off a calibration, though. I mean, absolutely get it done, because it makes a big difference.
This also emphasizes, I mean, you're preaching exactly what I say to people when I recommend a calibration is get somebody you can talk to. If they tell you go in the other room, I don't want that calibrator, because one, you can watch them for a week. You could go on, like a drive along with them and do all drive-by.
Not a drive-by.
Yeah,
you don't go on a drive-by with them.
You do a drive along.
As your lawyer,
with them.
I have to recommend against that.
Yeah. It's always good to have an attorney, right, John? But you could follow him for a week, 2 weeks, a month, and you're not going to be able to do what he does. It's years of training. It's the equipment. It's all of that. But for them to talk you through everything and to feel comfortable, and to Jonathan's credit, to his calibrator's credit, he has talked to him. He sent me some emails, showed me the discussion they're having. And so they are solving the problem. But it's something that if you're not happy, that's where, like, if I had this issue with me and it was Jim, I'd be like, call him right up and be like, Jim, what's going on? This feels weird to me. It's because once the initial idea of like, I just had this calibrator. I remember the first time I had a calibrator, I was super psyched, right? But once that wore off, if you have any doubts, you should be able to call them and be like, because there's no exchange policy. Be like, hey, can I return my calibration? This isn't what I thought it was. But they should be able to stand behind it and be like, you know what? Let's set you up with another thing. And he could have walked them through exactly what we talked about. But your scenario, Steve, is perfect. It's like, that's what I always recommend. It's like, if you can sit with him while he's calibrating, ask questions, do this. I don't know if his calibrator did that with Jonathan or not. But that's the most important thing. And, this entire podcast is filled with people that just want to talk home theater. And I think a lot of the calibrators are like that too.
Yeah. Well, also, I think that issue in that particular case might have been resolved better by doing what my chap did, which was, right after the calibration's done, let's watch some films. We did. We watched. We went through all these movies. And he was saying, like Jim did with you, going to particular scenes, going, now look at what the detail there, look at what you can see there, look at how it was before, and so if he'd done that perhaps with Jonathan, then it may be that then Jonathan can say, well, that does look a little bit dark. And then, of course, there's a dialogue there. So it could have been resolved then and there. It's hard to know, isn't it, without that? But you absolutely should, and you must. I mean, if you're paying, I don't know how much a calibration costs.
Few hundreds, 500, something like that. Well, this usually right around there, 300 to 500.
It was about £450 here. So that would have been pushing, then, probably about something like that. Yeah, so I mean, he had to come a long way, but and spend the whole day doing it. But it was well worth it. And if you're spending that money, you should feel that you can, one, ask questions, and two, be happy with what you've got.
Yeah.
And if you're not, then absolutely you should be able to raise it and have issues with it. But fortunately, other than the guy that did it years ago who just locked himself in the cinema room, the old one, I didn't particularly care because I was really pleased with what he did, and I knew that he was a very experienced chap. But it was much better being able to sit down and just geek out and just have this just masterclass, and that gives you confidence in the work they're doing, and also you make a friend, and Vincent Tio is the guy that did it. He's been brilliant ever since, and also I've had some issues since with updates on the TV and on the DVD player, the 4K player, and then thought, oh my god, I did because he sent me the stuff. He sent me a printout of all the different lists. He emailed it, which I've long since lost, and I felt awful about it. But I've been able. I know, believe you me. I said, oh my god! But I was able to tweet him and DM him and email him and ring him, and he's been like, yeah, no worries, let's go through it. And he's been able to do it, absolutely no problem ever since. So yeah, dialogue is the key, isn't it? Ongoing dialogue.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, all right. That was a fun tweaks of the week. We had a few of them. So if listeners, have
sorry,
tweaks,
I didn't check in on Steven Spielberg's theater this week. Sorry, guys, I have
failed.
Damn. Sorry.
Let's see. Let's move right along to. Now we're here. I've got them. So let's listeners' experiences this week. What are we up to? We had. What's this interesting? We have an email here. We're going to skip that for time. That's just not a listener, just a comment I got. All right. YouTube, Matt Nelson commenting on Top Gun Maverick home theater experience of the year. He says, the physical disc is much cleaner than the streaming versions. Can't stop demoing it for people and may have to purchase a completely separate UHD player dedicated to source on my AVR and would name it Top Gun Maverick. I love it. You've always got it ready to go.
Just leave it loaded all the time.
Just ready to go. Matt, what I would suggest if you're going to go crazy like that, get 2 Kaleidescapes and have one just dedicated to the scenes of Maverick. You could make them all and you could just jump right out.
No, don't. No.
I mean,
those
are the voices of reason.
Yes, exactly that.
You wouldn't have to. You just have to. You could just dedicate, you could just jump out at any time and watch every scene. Top Gun, another comment on Top Gun Maverick. Raphael says, hey all, should I wait for the Blu-ray disc or UHD disc that is already available? I will be using a PS5 for Blu-ray, which allows for Dolby True HD. I will be watching this on a Samsung 8K TV at 65 inches. Have not watched any Top Gun movies to this date and am waiting for a disc version to be released. I know my setup is not optimal, but I hand-built my theater and I have much to learn. Thanks. My recommendation, I would say always get the future-proof one. Get the best one that they have and, get the 4K UHD and whatever capabilities you can pull out of that, you use that. And that's my recommendation. What do you think, guys?
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, does the American version, because I think the British one only has the 4K disc. So it's not like, before I had my 4K player, I was buying 4K discs that had the Blu-rays with them so that I could still watch those and then be future-proof. But I've got a feeling Paramount in particular are only doing the 4K disc and the Blu-ray separately.
Good point.
So you might not be able to future-proof it as much as you should.
And the PS5, I'm not familiar. Does the PS5 play 4K?
Well, I was just saying the US disc only has the 4K version.
It does.
There you go. So not ideal. I mean, I would wait. I mean, the PS5 will play 4K. It will do 4K discs. So you should be okay with that.
Yeah, you should be all right.
At least I think
90%
sure.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I've only got the digital version, so I don't use that for discs at all. But,
but I know the PS5 does 4K.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Okay. All right. So that's what I would say. And if you haven't seen any Top Gun Maverick at all, Top Gun at all, Yeah.
Get the 2-pack.
Get the
Is
2-pack.
there's a two-
And then you'll have a really fun experience because the first one doesn't hold up compared to the second one, not in the home theater. They're both great movies.
No, not compared to the second one.
No,
it's,
not
it's
at all.
a good disc on its own right.
Yeah,
but
it is. It's a good film. It's still a great movie. It's still, it needs to be seen. Get yourself the 2-pack, some cheap aviators, and borrow DJ's jumpsuit, and you'll be you're good to go.
There you go.
There you go.
Did you find that, by the way, DJ? Did you find that?
I know. You know when I'm going to find it? When I'm getting the Christmas decorations down.
Or when
out
you're
of the
moving.
Or when I'm moving.
When you're moving. Yeah.
Exactly. Bateman commenting on the Batman home theater experience with Ralph Potts says, "Love this. Been reading Ralph's reviews for years." Thanks, Bateman. Appreciate that. Ralph will be back on fairly soon. We're going to be doing a wrap up for the year. Talk to him today. He's doing well. Might be heading to Canada. No, he's not heading to Canada. That's Brent. He's got plans for the holidays. Let's put it that way. Ralph does. Anyways.
Not heading for the border for any other reason.
No, that's somebody else out in
Midterms
California.
are over. And,
No. Vacation.
Yeah.
Okay.
John Rudd says, Legal Beagle, Brightside HT, last night's film shown in Cinema Den, a movie. So this is Jonathan, as a matter of fact. Sorry. A movie I've always loved and I've seen many times over years. The Blu-ray looked great, especially some fantastic colors and a clean image. Sound was fine. I got to open it to see which movie he's talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Joe versus the volcano.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
I haven't seen that since it came out.
I think I saw that on like HBO back in the day on television. But yeah, I remember that movie. It was fun. Let's see.
A dark premise, though, isn't it? The whole thing that he's going to kill himself by throwing himself into a volcano.
Yeah,
perfect comedy material.
Leading into the holidays, can't go wrong. We're gonna.
Well, if it works for Gollum, it can work for anybody.
Yeah. Van Gool on YouTube. Christmas Vacation and Story, my favorite. My family loves to watch them each year. I was like you growing up and decorated our house each Christmas. My grandfather made a snowman family out of wood we used. Do you like Scrooge, Deck the Halls, or the Santa Claus with John Lithgow? Which one's that? I don't know that one. With John Lithgow?
I'm not familiar with that either.
No,
I like Scrooge quite a bit.
I love Scrooge.
Yeah, the Bill Murray. Yeah, the Bill Murray one's great.
Bill Murray. That's a fantastic movie. Deck the Halls. Which one's that? I don't remember that one either.
No, I mean, I'm no expert on Christmas films.
Yeah, clearly.
Clearly, yes.
Not either. I'm not either.
He said the Santa Claus. Like I know the Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
That's Tim Allen.
Yeah,
right?
I loved that movie. I saw that in the theaters. I love that movie. But I'm not familiar with the John Lithgow Santa Claus. No. So, but yeah, I love all those. Let's see what else. What's this one? PT, my top 4K movies to showcase the sound system are Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, Aquaman, Bumblebee, Captain Marvel, Ford v Ferrari, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Incredibles 2, Incredible Hulk, Jurassic World, Justice League, Legend of Hercules, Life, Kong, Skull Island, Maze Runner, Death Cure, Midway, Steve, Moonfall, Ready Player One, Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2, Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars The Phantom Menace, Star Wars Return of the Jedi.
Quite the list.
I know.
He's just listing everyone in his collection.
Top Blu-ray, House of Flying Daggers and Need for Speed.
Top DVD, top VHS,
I was
top
like,
Beta Max,
Kaleidescape.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, all of that.
My Viewmaster.
I'm like, that's a lot of demos for sound, for your sound system. But yeah, it's like, but he's never at a loss. I think you just
there's always something in that
blindly
list, right?
pick off the shelf. It's like, this is going to be great. But that's awesome.
Just never go round to his house for a quick look at the cinema room. You're going to be there for weeks.
Is that a bad thing, though, Steve?
No. Well, just take your lunch. That's all I'm saying. Take some lunch.
I was just going to say, pack a lunch.
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's great.
Excuse me.
Let's see. Hi, DJ. This is Randy. Hi, DJ. Enjoyed listening to your latest podcast and your take on one of my favorite movies, First Blood. It was ironic that in the scene you were talking about that the sheriff was suggesting Rambo move on to Canada. They were, in fact, in the town of Hope, British Columbia, where the film was shot. Hope is a small whistle-stop town about a 90-minute drive north of Vancouver and is at the southern end of the scenic Fraser River Canyon, so they would have had lots of good terrain for the survival scenes. There is a Rambo statue in the town, not as well known as the one depicting Rocky. Stallone movies seem to be memorialized. I live 500 miles north of Hope in Prince George, and we have a connection to the movies as well. Reindeer Games was filmed there. A terrible movie, but with big stars, Ben Affleck, Charlize Theron, and Gary Sinise. A much better movie, Double Jeopardy, starring Ashley Judd and Tommy Lee, had all the prison scenes shot in the correctional prison, which was conveniently vacated because a new one had just been built. I was thinking how a love for movies brings such diverse people together, like a lawyer from England, a car painter from Boston, and a retired laborer from Prince George, and a comic book store owner. It's like, look at this. It's crazy. So he's like, kind of cool, huh? And I was like, yeah. I'm like,
I was thinking, I'm not a retired laborer.
No, I was thinking that too. What does he know that I don't know?
Yeah, exactly. John's like, I've never labored a day in my life.
Yeah, I've never labored at all a day in my life. I resent that.
Yeah, it is diverse. It is funny. Like all the different people that in home theater. I love that last line. That about like just the diverse crowd that you get. And but I think that's with everything though, really. I think it's a little bit more noticeable in home theater because it's such a smaller community and you're like, do we have a plumber in here?
Right.
Like, do we have this? And it's like, so it's a little bit different. Whereas most things, they're so big, you expect diversity anyways. But even when you get down to the nitty gritty like this, you're like, I'm sure there's a plumber listening. But yeah, and First Blood, it's so much fun, and it's great getting all those facts.
Yeah, someone else mentioned in one of the YouTube comments to the podcast last week about that it was shot up in Canada, and that and that it was in Hope, and that was set. So they say it's the Rockies. But again, I looked at where it said, and it seems to still be the kind of Pacific Northwest-ish. So I think we were broadly right.
Yeah. But that's what I said in the Northwest. So it's in the United States, and that's what they said in the Rockies. So,
and to be fair, at the beginning, when you first see him walk into town, there is a sign above it that says "Welcome to Hope," which I always thought was perhaps ironic. But perhaps it actually is the name of the place itself. Right. I thought it was ironic, and do you know what? The sign of that always looks like it's slightly skewed. It's really odd. The sign looks like it's not set right, to the point where I thought it was a special effect, or someone had just dropped that in thinking it was quite a clever thing. It doesn't look the angle on it doesn't look right. It looks like it's straight at the camera, and it's on an angle. It's really weird. Anyway, it's a tiny little thing, so I've seen it so many times.
I know.
And so, but still, fantastic film, which doesn't get enough credit. I think all the sequels to Rambo, which I know have got a special place in your heart, DJ, and I like them. Apart from Last Blood, perhaps, which is not great. But I think the first one is a stone cold American cinema classic.
Yes,
and as good as the other ones are, and they are fun, but the First Blood is an absolute stunner.
Well, that's really, just it. Really the rest of them are fun. First Blood isn't fun. It's not fun. And especially at the time it came out, it wasn't meant to be fun. It was meant as a statement, right? And that's what made it so great. And to this day, and now we've taken it because of the other ones and turned it into maybe like an action like, hey, this is, but it's not an 80s action movie at all.
No, there are no jokes in that. There are no one-liners in it. It's not a,
no.
If you might say it's a remnant from the 70s. I mean, it was out in what, 80, 81?
Yeah, it came out in 80, so they filmed it in the 70s.
Yeah, and it's got that dark 70s aesthetic, that nihilistic sort of approach to it, and yet it just spanned the into the new decade. It's not till you get to Rambo 2, of course, First Blood Part 2, where you get the embracing the 80s and all its excess, and I mean, he even asks him in that film, isn't it, what year is it? And he sort of says it's 1985.
Yeah,
and it's that it's that really embracing it.
Oh,
but
he's
First
jacked.
Blood's fantastic.
I mean, it's
and he's not in First Blood.
Success. Yeah, it's the 80s success.
That's and also the other thing with First Blood, just very quickly, because I know you're going to do a First Blood podcast, so we don't need to go into it too much now. But is the lack of deaths in that film. It got a lot of notoriety over here for its violence and the suggestion of like the body count, and yet only one person dies in that film, and that's and only as a result of his own actions and in clear self-defense. So as a lawyer, I would say, but yeah, so only one person dies, and that's it. And yet people just seem to think there's a massive body count in that film because of all the stuff that comes after. So anyway,
as a matter, you're right, and it's And that's a great point, because there's been a lot of, like, Star Wars had millions of people die. Everybody's cool with that. But one guy dies that's, by the time he does, you're like, you kind of didn't like him anyways. That's okay, but that's the point of the character, and that's why he did it. Like you said, he did it to himself. So
anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Justin on YouTube, talking about our DTS versus Atmos conversation that we had, difference between DTSX and Dolby Atmos with Jurassic World Dominion. And he says, great content. I enjoyed the conversation. First time I've listened to this channel, but I would love some type of chapter attachments to the video. I don't often have time to listen to 2.5-hour podcasts, unfortunately. And I replied right away as soon as I got this to him. And I said, his name's Justin. I was like, thank you for the feedback. If you look at our latest 2 videos and our podcast, you'll see I've put chapters in. And now I'm not only doing chapters for each segment, but I'm also adding in each movie, so you can jump directly to the movie that you want to listen to. I understand. We love doing this, and not everybody has the time to sit and listen to the 2.5 hours. But, you go through the chapters, and you can see, if you see a movie you like, click on that, and you're off and running. So great minds think alike, Justin. Thank you. Let's see. Next up, Justin again. Great video. I like Jeff, and so far I seem to agree with a lot of his favorites, etc. He should get a YouTube channel, and it was me and Jeff talking about the best 4K HD experience of 2022 so far, and he's talking about Jeff from HD Report, HDR, HD Report is website. So, if you like that, Justin, you're going to love the end of the year, because we do a wrap up of the 10 top home theater experiences of 2022. It's me, Jeff, and Ralph Potts, and we'll be doing that again this year.
Maverick.
Times 10.
Yeah. It'll be like 1 through 6 will be the 6 scenes from Maverick, and then I'll throw something in from
Number 1, Top. Number 2, Gun. Number 3, Mav. Number 4, Number 5, Rick.
There you go. No, we've done it the last couple of years, and I'm usually the one that throws a streaming in, because they're the disc guys, and they do all, and they're like, I'll be like, hey, get onto the streaming. And the last couple of years the last year, I think they were a little bit more amenable to it, but I'm all about the experiences. I don't care where it comes from. Too. Yeah.
Because you had Stranger Things 4.
Yep.
You had Rings of Power. So.
Yeah, Rings of Power and House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon. Yeah.
House of the Dragon is another one. So, yeah, it was great. So we'll have that. So he will be back on, but he's super busy to even be able to get to my show, never mind do his own. All right, already did that one. We talked about John. For Lawrence of Arabia, Vibe Installs says, Rambo: First Blood was filmed partially in Hope, British Columbia in Canada. So the terrain is the Rocky Mountains. Also love the Coca-Cola gear. Love the Star Wars collection. John. Would love to show you my collection one day on the show. Come on, send me the pictures. We'll do a takeover Tuesday and I'll put it out to the green room. They'll be able to see that. And if you want, I could make the video as well. Cheers, you guys. I love the podcast. Home Alone is a great movie. You need to give it a chance, DJ.
I agree with that.
The emails, the DMs, the tweets I got. That's why I went to Mastodon. I'm going to be honest with you. No, I'm just kidding. I was like, leave me alone. It was like, I'm like, the people like, it's awesome. You got to see it. Okay, first off,
I'm going to stop. The problem is now it won't be awesome.
It's never been awesome.
Yeah.
It's never
That's
been.
The whole thing.
Not like, for a 20-year-old guy.
It'll be built up so much because of that you won't ever enjoy it.
No, and it's like there's way too much good stuff going on for me to watch a little kid running around trip. Did you see? And it's funny, it's popping up everywhere on me. Did you see Chappelle on Saturday Night Live?
No.
And he was talking. One of the things he said in it, he was talking about how Ukraine is really doing a great job at defending themselves. He goes, he goes, I can't believe Russia's losing to these people. He goes, it'd be like the United States losing in a war to Colorado. And he goes, and at the beginning, Ukraine had no weapons. He goes, so they were just defending themselves with stuff around the house. He goes, it was like a scene out of Home Alone. He goes, the Russians are grabbing hot doorknobs and getting hit in the face with a rake. And I'm like, oh, come on. Chappelle's on me now, too.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah. It is worth seeing, even ironically.
I know.
Just give it a go.
I don't want to give in, but people it's just so funny. It
is super fun. Like it's just a fun movie, but
yeah.
I mean, we're not going to tell you anything that the million emails and DMs didn't already.
I know.
So
it's like, come on.
If you haven't watched it this week, you're not going to watch it.
Yeah.
All right. If I'll tear myself away from my millionth viewing of Star Wars, maybe I'll.
Yeah.
Maverick.
Maverick. Yeah.
Right. Cut down on one viewing of Maverick and just watch Home Alone.
G. Cornell, early on, talking about my Takeover Tuesday conversation with Joe on Tuesday, he says, early on in the conversation about buying a new projector every year, selling your low mileage projector in bulb versus laser. Concern was expressed about doing so with laser and the amount of hours on it. And he sent me a link of like 2,000 hours, so it shouldn't be an issue. And that's what we were saying in the thing. It's like, if you have a laser projector and you keep it for a year and you sell it, you should have enough mileage on it. You got a decent value out of it. But it brings up an idea that if you keep this thing for 5 years, you might still have 5 years on it, but you really have no equity left in that projector to sell it because it's a laser projector and it's like, what are you going to get for it trying to sell it? Because it's pretty close to the end of its life and you can't just change the bulb. Whereas a 5-year-old bulb projector, you could 4 or 5 years, you could sell that and say, fresh bulb and this thing's ready to rock, right? Laser goes.
So it degrades over time, does it?
Yeah.
Well, they all do. Bulbs and lasers will degrade over time. Lasers just far slower.
But it's got something like 15,000 hours.
20.
Like
20.
I think I figured out with mine, like I would have to watch it for 10 hours a day, 7 days a week for like 9 years straight before.
I think it's like for you.
Sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. Challenge accepted.
Right.
But
that's the thing. It's like yours is also, it's a lot cheaper than these $12,000, $16,000 models,
it is.
Right? Yeah. So like a lot of us buy televisions for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. And 5 years from now, you're not selling. It's like, it's outdated, right? So that's an acceptable.
Goes out on the patio and you buy a new one.
Right. But to take a $16,000 projector that's a laser and you're like 5 years from now, you're like, oh, it's got a half its life left. Right. It's not a huge market on that because I'd just rather go get the latest and greatest anyways. So it's just an interesting conversation because you can't, supposedly you can, but there are a lot of people are saying that they say you can, but they don't tell you how much. It's like crazy money just to replace the laser. So
generally not worth it.
Exactly. You're just better off buying a new one.
That is news to me. Yeah, I'm surprised at that. I just figured naively that one of the benefits of laser over a bulb projector is you wouldn't have to replace the display implement itself. So
that's the idea. That's the
really
idea.
surprised.
Ideally, you wouldn't. I mean, because like mine, I get running on high lamp mode probably around 2,000 to 2,500 hours on a bulb before I would have a noticeable difference. So I try to change it before 2,000 because if I change it around 2,000, I barely notice if I even notice. I changed it last year and I was at 2,100 and I didn't even notice a difference. I thought I was going to get a brighter image and I was like, still the same.
But yeah, again, I'll do a technology upgrade way before the laser wears out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And that is the
like
point.
I'll replace it.
So you are
because
right,
of
Steve.
new equipment. Way before that.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I didn't think lasers degraded like that, and yet they don't in Blu-ray players or disc players. The laser, I suppose it's a shorter throw laser, isn't it? But they don't degrade in the same way, do they? The picture quality from those doesn't change. So I'm surprised that it would in a projector. But not that I'm in any way really understanding.
I think
the technology
even TVs they do degrade over time. They will they will lose their brightness over time. Just not as great as like on a bulb on a projector. Yeah. Everything has a lifespan. It's just as All right. Let's see. We have Paul Vanderwall, who was he was on HT Tours. I did an HT tour of his basement theater. He said, "Hello, DJ. Hope all is well. I finally got everything fixed or installed, so I thought I would give an update. Room updates, acoustic panels. I love how the room looks now with them up. The sound improvement was there, but very little, I guess. I made so many changes, it's hard to know what helped. I would say that I get better separation and some finer details come through. I'm glad I put them up and thanks for your help. I would have liked to have tested it faster than I did, but the Marantz took almost 2.5 months to get back, so it's hard to know or hear the difference. Moving Atmos speakers and bed layer speakers. I moved the Atmos speakers over one floor joist and moved the bed layers down about a foot. It made the soundstage larger and I got better separation. Added acoustic materials inside the boxes for the Atmos speakers, and that really helped with getting a fuller sound from them. Running 4 subs, not a huge improvement, but it was there. The difference was like being punched by Mike Tyson when he was in his 20s versus the end of his career. I love that analogy.
Yeah, because I still don't want to be punched by Mike Tyson.
No, I don't want it today. He could be on his deathbed, and I'm like, I'm staying arm's length away. They both had a good punch, but with 4, it really gave some more realism and evenness to the bass that was not there before. The wall of boxes, to me, it seemed to tighten the bass up a bit. I don't have it. He said the home theater experience. He goes, I don't have any type of frame of reference to know if my room sounds good or bad, but to me, it sounds fantastic. That's all that matters. That's me interjecting. Watching Top Gun Maverick sounded great and without a doubt better than the theater did. Watching Rings of Power also was an invigorating home theater experience. Rings of Power, to me, is a great show. I don't understand the negative reviews. What else could you ask for? Other than Game of Thrones, this show is equally epic, if not a little more. It's an episode-based show, not a movie. It has to be a little slow in parts, and that's fine by me. I will watch season after season if they keep making it. On Steve's recommendation, I did watch Only the Brave, and it's as great a home theater experience and good movie. Thanks, Steve. Lastly, for home theater experience is Jurassic Park World Dominion. Wow, what a movie. The sound was unbelievable. This is where I really noticed the extra subs in my room. When the dinosaurs walked and the bass from their feet hitting the ground sounded like they were in my room. Of course, the butt kicker helps with that too. He has 4 subs and butt kickers. I also found the movie to be very entertaining. The scene with them in the plane and the pterodactyl flies overhead and it starts damaging the plane is a great Atmos scene. The scene Claire is in the tree and the dinosaur is walking around is also top-notch Atmos. Keep up the great work. Until next time, Paul. So, I agree on all those points.
4 subs, a butt kicker, and a very busy chiropractor.
Right.
I know. He did. Remember, he hurt his back.
No.
Did you know that? Yeah.
No. I now know.
So his Marantz went down. When we did the home theater tours, he had all, just to give everybody an idea, he had all concrete cinder block walls in his room and then curtains and nothing behind the curtains. So he's getting reflections from here, sound going there. And he was subbing out all these different center channels because he was losing, and I suggested room treatments. And he did that. And that's the one thing he didn't mention here. Paul, let me know what you think of your center channel performance now that you've added the room treatments, if it's clearer dialogue, because that's what my intention for that was. But all that bass that he's getting, that extra bass, what he did is he took the boxes that his subwoofers came in and he stuffed them full of insulation and created this big back wall behind his curtain that he has behind him. So all that extra bass that should be reverberating is going right in there and just dying. So he's just getting all of that good direction, like right away, boom, clean bass. And that's giant bass traps. And so he's getting that, and that's what gives you that punch. And it's going to feel like it went away a little bit because you're losing some of that reverberation, but you're getting the solid bass that you should get, like when you're outdoors and at a concert and you're getting all that bass and you feel that big punch in the chest. I think it all sounds really good. And as far as having no frame of reference, none of us do. That's what, right? We all like, I think this is what I want. I'm like, how many theaters have we been in other than going to the theater? And if you think it's better than what you had at the theater, that's your frame of reference. And if you love it, that's it.
But how did he hurt his back?
Moving his theater around. Because I'm sorry. Yeah.
It wasn't actually the LFE doing it then, going right
through.
No.
He hurt his back because his Marantz went down. And that's what stinks is like he said, I wish I had like a quicker A/B test. Like you fix the room and then test it right away. Well, he went to test it and his Marantz died. So we had to send it out for repairs. It took 2 months to get it back. So here we are 2 months later. But in those 2 months, he can't just sit still. He loves his theater and he just played with it. And he did all of these improvements and he's moving stuff around. He hurt his back. Right after he talked to me too. We were talking about it and he's like, hurt his back. So he was out. He was like out from doing anything like that for a couple of weeks. So it's the price we pay.
Help.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right.
But I'm glad he enjoyed Only the Brave though, and you guys do need to see that. It's well worth watching.
I was going to try to get to it this week. I just didn't. I just didn't. It's in my queue, if you will.
Yeah, it genuinely is worth seeing. It's a great film. I'm glad he enjoyed it. I'm finding when someone says to me, on your recommendation, I watched, is when they pause. My heart skips a beat.
Right.
Yeah. I had a friend ring me this morning and said, on your recommendation, I watched Clerks 3. And I'm like, yeah, let's not have a pause there. Tell me what you thought of it. Yeah.
Those pauses are devastating, aren't they?
Yeah, he said, I turned it off after 10 minutes. And then said, that's 10 minutes I'm not getting back. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm sorry I recommended that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's like, so do you see that? Are you getting that appreciation of like our first interaction where we weren't friends yet? And it's our first interaction was you telling me through social media that Midway wasn't good. And I loved it.
But that's not your fault.
I know, but it's my new podcast. I'd only been out for a few months, and I'm like, this is one of my first interactions, and one of my listeners that took the time to listen is like, you're wrong. It's scary. Oh, it's like, but it takes time, and but then, I mean, to your credit, you didn't just turn me off. You just said, "Oh no, I like what he had to say. I just think he's all wrong."
Yeah, I think I did it with a velvet glove.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It tickled.
Yeah.
Oh, so funny. But see, it's a lot easier doing it now with you guys. You're my support. So, and we support each other. So you can say, safe space. Yeah. You're my support. I'm your support. You like something. Hey, I'm not a fan of Malignant, but it's
That's never going away.
Yeah, now that you're getting the grief with Home Alone, now you know how I feel when people start talking about The Fifth Element. And everyone says, it's great, it's amazing. Oh, and I'm thinking, oh.
You've never seen it? I thought you saw it.
No, I have seen it. I just hated it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm the one person in the world that didn't like it. And you're the one person in the world who doesn't want to see or doesn't like Home Alone without having seen it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm the one I mean, that thing's crazy, like, popular. Like, and I'm just
loved.
I just never had a desire. I'm not saying it's bad, or I just never had a desire. Nothing could pull me into it. And I love John last week. That's just the trailer. Yeah, the thing that's supposed to pull you into the theater, it didn't do it.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for listener experiences this week. Thank you to everybody for chiming in. And we ready to get to our experiences because Steve's already here, so we don't have to go across the pond. We're doing it. I'm sorry. We're not even doing that. I'm skipping a beat here. Good thing I have that there.
Yeah,
We're doing
4K releases, right?
4K releases. I have to pull that up. All right.
And also, don't forget, DJ, you've got some discs to give away as well.
Great call, Steve. You were drowned out by the background music. Say that again, and we'll do it.
Sorry,
right
I'm so sorry. I got a bit panicky there for a moment.
Me too.
Don't forget, it's all gone quiet. There were discs, 4K discs to give away, or some things to give away.
4K discs. All right.
His concussion kicked in.
Yeah. I thought something's happened. It's frozen.
I heard you. I don't think anybody else did because I had the sounder going.
Sorry.
For 4K releases. So with 4K releases, we have right now, before we get to what's coming out on Tuesday, what's the date on Tuesday?
22nd?
Yes, Tuesday the 22nd. Before we get to that, we have already, Johnny Speakers has claimed Top Gun Maverick from last week. And Dan, I meant to write it in. I didn't write it in. Dan has already claimed Spears and Munsell Blu-ray from Nelson. Okay. So those are gone. But for this week, what we still have available, nobody has claimed Bram Stoker's Dracula. Nobody has claimed Star Trek II Wrath of Khan 4K, the new 4K release. And that's it so far. That hasn't been claimed. But here's some new ones that we have to give away, and I'm going to shout these out and back it up if you didn't hear them all, but I'm going to give a bunch away because I have over 20 here. For discs, F9 4K. This is a disc. This is the actually, I'm sorry, wait a minute. No, it isn't. It is not.
It's the script.
See, let me slide this over.
This is not the disc.
This is not the disc you were looking for. I'm sorry. F9 is digital. These are all digital right now. F9 digital available. You want it? You got it. Just all you got to do is contact me in any form. Just the first person to contact me in any form. If you want to run to my house and ring my doorbell, knock yourself out.
Semaphore.
Edge of Tomorrow 4K digital code. Looper 4K digital code. Big one. Huge. The disc set of Star Trek 4K 4-movie collection. Okay, this is the disc set. It will be mailed out to you, but it's the 4K collection. It's the one that came out previous to what's out right now. So if you're kind of a Star Trek fan and you want that, and those, the last three came from Nelson. He's culling his collection. And F9 4K, thank you to Justin Van Camp. He put that one out there. So any of those right there, let me know. And I will also give away a Top Gun Maverick from John. Thank you, John. Gave me the Top Gun Maverick code, digital code. So we're doing that one. And I am going to give away my Top Gun Maverick disc. That will be mailed out to you. Any of the discs, please, sorry, United States only. So that me, and not only me, but Nelson's mailing his out. And you already have it, Steve. So I'm going to be giving out my disc, which has the code in it. I was thinking of giving that out separately, but I don't want to do that just in case somebody uses it. So you'll get the disc, my disc, because I'm going to be getting another one anyways. And because I'm getting the collection soon. So so we got 2 Top Gun Mavericks, a disc and a digital, and all the other ones. If you don't know what they are, back up the podcast and listen again. All right. Those are our giveaways for this week. And I still have plenty more for next week and the week after that. And people are donating like crazy. And I appreciate everybody's donations. And we'll keep this thing a-rolling. It's a lot of fun. Thank you very much. Yeah. All right. Now I've got to get to what is being released on Tuesday. Tuesday, November 22nd. Wall-E in 4K from 2008. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles from 1987. And according to Ralph Potts, I have to say, I have to give a warning. Not a very good cut. Not a very good release. You're shaking your head, Steve. You agree? You've heard the same.
I've seen it in several places, and I've already pre-ordered it. I can't quite bring myself to cancel it though. I love that film so much.
I do too.
I read a good review yesterday though. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So,
okay.
I mean, that doesn't mean it's good, because there's been a lot of negative reviews, but I actually did read a fairly positive review on it yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, Bill Hunt on the digital bits was saying that there are some some good bits in it. It's not a complete waste, but
yeah. Well, Ralph said if you, I think it has all the extras in it, the extra scenes and stuff like that, and
scenes, yeah,
and he said it's worth it for that. So
I'm still going to pick it up too because it's $21, I think, for pre-order. So cheap enough just for the added bits.
Yeah,
and I don't actually own it in Blu-ray, so.
Oh, you don't? I think I have it in Blu-ray.
I've got the Blu-ray.
I had it on DVD, but I got rid of all my DVDs.
Such a great movie.
Yeah.
That was a big movie when I was working in the video store when I was a kid. And when that came, I remember when that came out, everybody wanted to rent that. It was such a great holiday movie. And I remember when it came out, I was like, this is a holiday movie? I didn't even.
No, it was a Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it was.
Get home for Thanksgiving. Yeah, it's about as holiday.
But I didn't. I saw it in the theater.
It's
as
Thanksgiving as Die Hard is Christmas. So
it's actually exactly. It is exactly that.
It is such a good film.
Yeah, those aren't pillows.
No, it's brilliant. It's still the scene, that scene into the rental car lady. That's just. I mean,
God!
It comes out of nowhere. There's no bad language in that film before. And there's no language after. It's just that one scene. I mean, can you imagine pitching that to the studio? Can you imagine that going, we've got this scene?
Yeah.
It must have been like you were out of your mind.
Oh. I forget who the comedian was that did one like that, but it's so funny. All right. Malcolm X in 4K coming from 1992. That's with Denzel Washington. That's definitely... I think I'm going to grab that. I hope that pops up on Kaleidescape because that's a tile I want to have popped in there. Great movie. High Plains Drifter 4K from 1973.
Ooh. Clint Eastwood, excellent.
Yeah. This one I'm not familiar with. Maybe I am and I've forgotten about it. Mystery Men from 1999.
Oh, yeah. Ben Stiller and Hank Azaria. And it's great. Greg Kinnear. Yeah, he's in there. It's great. It's a superhero kind of pastiche and superhero kind of jokey kind of thing. Long before they were popular. Yeah, it's great. It's well worth seeing.
Similar to Kick-Ass.
Yeah. Although they are
picturing it that way.
Yeah, it's more jokey than that, and they do have powers and stuff. It's got Jean Garofalo in it as well.
Okay.
Jean Garofalo. Yeah, it's very, very quirky. But a really good film, and if you're a comic fan, and I know you are, then you'll get a kick out of it.
Oh, cool.
The Blu-ray that I've got of it's not that great, so when the 4K hits over here, I'll definitely pick that up. Cool. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's well worth seeing.
All right. The Company of Wolves 4K from 1984. I keep saying 4K. All of these, I'm only doing 4K releases, and it's still a lot of
Laserdisc.
No
VHS. Come on, man. Broadchurch.
Rollerball from 1975. We have Shrek 2 from 2004. Sony Picture Classics. I'm going to click on 30th Anniversary Collection 4K. It's got, let's see, Orlando.
Lawrence of Arabia.
The City of Lost Children, The Celluloid Closet, Run Lola Run, Sick Punk, The Devil's Backbone, Volver, Syncdosh, New York. Syncdosh, New York? Not familiar. Still Alice, Call Me By Your Name, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, all 4K Ultra HD. I know Run Lola Run, and I know Crouching Tiger, Hidden
those
Dragon.
are the only two I've even heard of.
Still Alice is a very good film of drama with goodness me, what's her face? I can't think of her name. She plays Clarice Starling in Hannibal.
Okay.
It's gone completely gone. But it's a film about, ironically, that none of us can remember her name. It's a film about
Jodie
Alzheimer's. No. In Hannibal. Redhead.
Julianne Moore.
That's well done.
Julianne
See,
Moore.
there we go. Yeah. It's a drama about a teacher who is diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, and she is forgetting, and it's her relationship with her daughter. It's a very, very moving film, and an unusual one for 4K. It's a very eclectic collection.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it took three of us to come up with three of them that we know about.
Yes, quite.
It's like, those are the classic. Well, I think it's funny that they're like Sony Picture Classics 30th anniversary from 92 to 2017. It's like, 92 is classics or anything that came out in 2017.
Now, right? Because it's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
How to make us feel old.
Yeah. Let's get back to our younger roots. Puss in Boots from 2011. It's coming out on Tuesday. IP Man 4K from 2008.
Ip Man. IP Man. God, DJ. Honestly. It's not some sort of thing about copyright infringement. It's a martial arts movie. That one. If anyone is interested in Ip Man, buy the box set. Buy the set of 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're very, very good.
You told me that a while ago. That's why I love saying that
films.
because
I don't think I've ever seen that.
IP Man.
the look on your face.
It's not about someone getting caught short.
I love the look on your face. You're just like, oh, for the love of God, I'm done. Click. This is worse than Midway. I'm out.
Getting late, I'm out.
Yeah. I know you're not a martial arts guy, but even you knew that was it, man.
Yeah. Let's see. Children shouldn't play with dead things.
It's a public service announcement. What about the film?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, that's not a PSA. That's actually a disc that's coming out on Tuesday.
Never heard of that.
It's from 2022. It's from this year. I've never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
So it sounds like a horror movie for you, Steve.
Ooh, okay. Well, now I'm more interested.
And IP Man 2 is coming out as well. And also the Final Countdown is coming in 4K from 1980. We talked about that a couple weeks ago, I think, or last week.
That's out here. We've had that here for a while. I haven't bought it, but
I've had it because it's been out there. I had it. I grabbed it and I did a show on it. But I think did I talk about it with you or did I talk about it with Joe, the podcast that just came out?
I've never seen it, but I know it's out. Yeah.
Okay, so I talked about it with Joe that came out. That was in Tuesday's podcast, and I did a whole show on it. Have you seen that one, John?
No.
Oh, I would recommend that. It's got some.
Yeah,
it's a fun movie. The 4K is pretty good, and it's wonky when it's a time travel movie, but it's a little wonky when they go through time. But the movie itself is a lot of fun. And this came out 1980, so this came out before Terminator 2, and that's why Joe and I were talking about it on Tuesday. We were like, because we were talking about Terminator 2 and time travel and stuff. But I recommend
Terminator 1.
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I mean. Terminator 2, all of those time travel movies, and that's what I was saying on Tuesday. So, but yeah, all right, that's it for coming out on November 22nd. So If you're listening to this in 2023 or 1980,
1983.
good for you.
Yeah.
You've done the time travel thing. That's very
Yeah,
clever.
exactly. Hey, we're here. It's digital. Who knows where you can pick it up? It's like live on your toaster. Yep, exactly. All right, let's get to our real HT experiences, what the boys have this week. So, John, with the big list you have, why don't you go first? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm saying I'm done. I'm out.
You had a busy
clicking
week.
off.
But you did watch one that we'll get to in a minute. So, Steve, why don't you go first? We'll bounce back and forth.
Yeah, okay, because I've got quite a bit because I've had some time off, so I'm quite ready. Okay, so one that you did do a show about, and that I only picked up because of your recommendation, DJ.
Yeah.
Which I subsequently discovered you've bought 6 times.
Oh, yeah.
I know what you're talking. I know it already.
Bloodshot. Yeah, Bloodshot.
Yeah.
Now, this also feeds into our is it a great movie depending on the delivery system conversation, because I saw this on my iPad ages ago, probably not long after it came out, and I thought it was rubbish.
Like Lucy.
Really, yeah, well, quite, but just as well, yeah, similar, but in as much as it was just by the numbers, rote, cliche, boring, I thought, on the iPad. Now, for a while, I've been thinking I'll pick up the disc because it's cheap and it's been out, and you raved about it, and now I know why. Because I then picked it up and I watched it, and I mean, it is, I think, pretty close to being a reference disc. It is absolutely stunningly good, and suddenly the film comes alive. Everything is much more engaging and enjoyable. It looks amazing, it sounds incredible, and I thought it was great, and I genuinely enjoyed the movie. I was far more surprised, and I wish I picked it up years ago, quite literally. So yeah, great. I mean, I'm not going to go and buy it 6 times. But I did thoroughly enjoy it. The only issue for me is I don't know why they've decided to set the back half of the movie in London, in air quotes.
Yeah.
Because that's not even close.
Not London.
To being London. It would be like me. I was thinking about this. This would be like me shooting a film in my back garden and claiming it's the Amazon rainforest. That's about as close as it was. It's clearly not London. The buildings are not London. The sky doesn't look like London. The number plates are all wrong. They're on the wrong side of the road. It is. I mean, why they bothered with London? It's clearly South Africa, and why they didn't just say South Africa, I don't know. Because you just don't need to.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It could have been anywhere.
Yeah, it has no bearing on the story. It's not as though London is intrinsically linked. It is literally like they must have stuck a pin in the map and go, yeah, we'll call it London then. But yeah, it was great, and a very sort of Neil Blomkamp-esque type film. I thought it was great. Really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, so yeah, thank you to you for recommending that one.
All right.
But why 6 times? Why 6 times?
That's a great question. I was going to elaborate on that. I told you this, though, didn't I, Steve?
You put something in a text, I think, saying I bought it 6 times, but I didn't know why.
So this is the movie that it came out in March of 2020. And I saw it. We were talking about it on the chat podcast, Talking Comics, and John and I were looking forward to it. And I had bought my, opening night ticket. So I went and saw it by myself opening night. My son wanted to see it. So I bought him, the only time he was coming home from college, he was in college at the time. So I bought Tuesday night tickets for the 2 of us because that was his spring break. So I had those, and I saw it opening night. I had Tuesday night. Well, that Tuesday night was when the world shut down. And that was literally I had 7:00 tickets, but the theater had said, because of the state mandate, that they had to be closed. So they were closing at 8:00. And I had to call the theater and be like, well, I got 7:00. They're like, yeah, once the movie starts, you get the movie, but we're closing after that. So you're good. Okay. So I was like, okay. So I got to see it that night. But what Bloodshot enabled us to do for the first time in home theater,
go straight home and see it, wasn't it?
It was a week later. Yeah. It was a week later. You could get it on digital. And I really enjoyed it. And I couldn't wait to get this in my theater. So I bought it on iTunes. So there's purchase number 3, right? So then you go on iTunes and you're watching it and like, this is great. But it wasn't at the time. I think it might have been updated since then. But at the time, it wasn't in Dolby Atmos. So the only way to stream it in Dolby Atmos would be to get it in...
it was Voodoo, right?
Voodoo.
Voodoo had
okay.
it. Yeah.
So you could buy it on Vudu digitally, and you'd get the Atmos stream. But here's the other one, and John remembers this. The only way you could get the Atmos stream on Vudu, and this is one I didn't put in the text to you, you had to do it through Roku. Because it wouldn't come through, Vudu wouldn't do Atmos through the Apple TV. So I had to run out and get the higher end Roku, because only the higher end did it, connect that to my system just so I could get the Atmos. And wouldn't you know it? Diminishing returns. After all that work, and you jump between them, and the picture was better on iTunes than the picture was on Vudu, but the sound, I honestly, my memory of it was like, if it was better in Atmos streaming than the streaming, 5.1 on iTunes, I'm like, I don't know. But I did it, and I had fun with it. And then, of course, the 4K disc, I got to have that, which came out in May. So I had that. And then, of course, when Kaleidescape came out, I bought it on Kaleidescape as well. So there's your 6 purchases. Yeah. So nobody has ever accused me of not supporting physical
media. It's getting a sequel just because of DJ.
I was going to say, yes. That's it. I know. I'm pretty sure Vin Diesel bought a Ferrari just on the back of your thing. I think
this talk about number plates. This movie's really popular.
With this one guy in Douglas.
Yeah, the East Coast is loving it.
But to be fair, it is a great, fun home theater experience, because this is one of those ones that, and I've talked about it here on the podcast before, where Netflix, I think, does a fantastic job in shooting their movies for HDR, streaming HDR. They shoot it purposefully in a contrast that's going to enable them to put out a very vibrant image, right? This movie, Bloodshot, I think it's like they got the reds, the blues, the brights, the darks, and all of this going on, and all of these scenes, the red in his chest and all of this stuff going on. It just the image on your screen, and it enables the subject matter enables this to happen in a way that you're not like, oh, this is ridiculous. Well, yeah, it's ridiculous. It's based on a comic book. So I feel like it's just a lot of fun in your theater. I feel like you said, Steve, the Atmos mix is fantastic. That scene at 28 minutes and 50 seconds, the Psycho Killer, when it's the memory of it, not the original part when you hear it, when he starts hearing it and the speakers around the room are playing this, and it's in his head, and it's the way that sound moves around the room at different volume levels is just so much fun. It's in 3420. This is Steve, do you not agree? This is demo HDR material. The flower we'll just call it the flower in the tunnel, and that battle scene, and the way.
Oh yes.
The gradations that you get with that flower and the air and the bright lights, the flares, it's amazing. Absolutely.
It is stunningly good. And another Sony disc that just basically just knocks it out of the park. It's fantastic. I mean, I feel stupid that I haven't picked it up before now. I mean, I got it cheap. But anyone listening to this that thinking, oh, it's another Vin Diesel, is it really, a film for me? Give it a go. But don't rent it, buy it. Buy the disc and just enjoy it.
I love the line. It's not really a spoiler, but it's early on in the movie, and he's talking to what you'd call a doctor or the scientist. And he's like, and now we're ready to go to the next step. And then he goes, well, of course you are. That one Vin Diesel, that deadpan line that he gives them, it's like, you'll know it when you get there if you haven't seen the movie. But when was the last time you saw it, John?
Theater.
Oh, really? You haven't seen it at home?
No. I was just looking at my phone to see if I actually owned it in 4K, which I do.
Yeah.
I just haven't watched it yet.
I figured you would because, I mean, I bought it I didn't send you a copy?
I think I bought it last Black Friday when it was on sale, and I haven't. It probably still has the wrapper on.
Oh, you would love it on your projector now? Oh, so good.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's really, really good.
So good.
I mean, you said you had 20-odd discs to give away, or 20-odd movies. 6 of those are Bloodshot. Are they?
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, 2 are movie tickets, and the other ones
2 are digital.
2 are digital, and so I only have 1. I should give it away because I have it on Kaleidescape. So
yeah, you should.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I mean, I was absolutely blown away by it. Really pleased with that. So yeah,
you know
that's
what?
my first one.
First person to
talked him
ask for
into it.
Bloodshot, there you go. So out the door. United States, shipping it out. So first person to ask for Bloodshot, I'll ship it out. I love that movie. I'll probably never use the disc again. So there you go. Thank you very much.
And it's a reference disc, guys. So anyone that get it, jump on that one definitely. All right, so that's my first one.
John, we could talk about this one. Maybe Steve too. Right. He said maybe. Wakanda Forever in the cinema, guys. Did you see it, Steve?
I saw it earlier today. I might have an outlying opinion on this one.
Okay. I don't think you will. I think we're going to come all down the middle.
I don't know. Okay. You said you loved it.
Yeah, but John and I had a brief conversation about it. I have my reasons. But John, why don't you go first?
I did not love it, actually.
Right.
I mean, I didn't dislike it.
High five.
Yeah.
High five.
I didn't dislike the movie at all. But I didn't love it. I didn't think it was great. I don't think it's the best Marvel movie this year or even in the last couple of years. Anything I really have to say about it is very spoilery, so I don't really know how much I can elaborate on that. I did not like the way they handled Chadwick's departure. And I just thought the movie was very thin.
Okay.
And I mean, I had some issues with it for sure. So,
okay. Steve, you could say your piece.
I can say some non-spoilery things about it. The main one for me was, boy, was it long. And I felt every
was it 240?
Single
240.
minute. Yeah, 240. It was interminably long. And I appreciate first watch, and as you guys know more than anybody else, second watch, I generally enjoy things more. But for the first watch, it was mind-numbingly long. And I nearly fell asleep several times, and I watched it mid-morning, so there's no excuse for that. And the person that I saw it with did fall asleep and fell asleep for about half an hour, and still woke up and had over an hour left. And it was for me, the worst takeaway from me is just how long it is. There are entire chunks of that movie that could go that would not affect the thing at all. It felt like a director's cut being shown for the very first time. So everything was in. There can't be anything cut out. You can see the lot. And so that was I just thought there was just too much. Right. And I agree with you, John. It's thin, but it's also there's just a lot of it.
Right.
Yeah, it is. And that was my big problem with it. It's just too long, and there was not enough story to maintain it. And if I had to listen to one more somber Rihanna song, I think I might have gone crazy, because there's just and how many scenes do you have to have, again, spoiler free, of two characters talking about something to do with how they're going to resolve their future, and there's just another one and another one and another one, and gosh. So I didn't hate it. Again, I'm with you, John. I didn't hate it. There was some stuff in there I really liked, but it's just too long. Just too long. And again, it's not the best Marvel film of the year for me either. That's Doctor Strange for me by an absolute country mile for me. Really? Although, again, I appreciate that. Yeah, I love Multiverse of Madness. But again, it's a horror aspect, isn't it? It's a horror film, so I'm bound to love it. So, it didn't do much for me at all. But, DJ, you said you loved it, so do tell.
Yeah, so my wife and I saw it together. On Friday morning, Veterans Day, she was off, so I had bought the tickets for a 10:30 show, and we came out of there saying a lot of the things that you guys are saying. Okay, like it is long, and I said to her, one of my first things I go, one of the things they're doing, and it seems to be difficult for them now with all these streaming shows. People want more, character development and stuff. So when you put out a movie, it gets tough because people walk out and go, they want more, but if it's too long, they wanted less. And it's like, so I think they're caught in the middle there, and it makes it harder to rewatch. And that's one of my first comments to my wife. I go, I really did. And I'll get to why in a minute. Love it. I really enjoyed it. But here's the caveat. I do agree with everything you're saying. I felt like the story was thin in parts. There was characters I wasn't crazy about. When later on we can talk a little spoilers, some other day. But or maybe Green Room or something someday. But here's the thing. Why I loved it is because the difficult task that they had with Chadwick Boseman passing, when they signed him as Black Panther, they had no idea. I'll bet you Chadwick had no idea what was going to happen to him in his life in that situation. Because I personally, my observation from afar, I don't think Chadwick's the type of person that would sign on for a multi-film deal, knowing that what his fate was. I think he found that out after, because they do these things many years before the movie comes out, and then he got, and at that point he's like, I can't get out of it. What am I going to do? So, that being said, think of the difficult tasks that they had. They have, the MCU's planned out to, stage 6 or whatever, right? We're in 5 right now. So they had a plan in place. And now your lead character that's supposed to do this. I think what they did, when you see the movie through that lens, how they were still be able to tell the story. I think the elements of the story that they wanted to tell with Chadwick are here, right?
Yes.
But then they had to thin that out with his passing, his real life situation, because they did everything. Think of the difficulty that we talk about on social media. Do you replace the character? Do you do this with the character? Do you CGI the character? They did none of that. They respectfully did what I think a lot of people wanted them to do, and what is respectful to Chadwick and his family, right? How do you do that in an artistic, entertaining way? And for them to pull it off that way, I think looking at it through that lens, I think it's phenomenal what they did. It's funny you mentioned the music, Steve, because my wife loves the music in that movie. She's like, these are her 2 favorite Marvel movies, Black Panther and Wakanda Forever. She's like, she just loves the colorfulness. She loves the upbeatness. Even in Wakanda Forever, there is an element of like, Wakanda Forever. You come out of there, if you did like the movie, you're like, Wakanda Forever! It's like, it's an amazing story being told intertwined with something you would never want to have to intertwine a story with.
But the problem is, if you don't like it, then you come out of it feeling like you've been in Wakanda forever. That's the problem.
So, in my little monologue there, how early on did you have that joke? And you were so polite just to sit there.
You had it like Tuesday.
You said Wakanda forever. Yes,
I know.
Exactly that. Well, it's 5 hours ahead, so I've had it for hours.
Future Steve.
It's all done. I agree. I mean, also, I think some of it, again, and this is why I say I need to see it again, and I will see it again. I'll buy the disc, so however much I might malign it, however much I might malign it, I'm going to get the disc, which was far from certain with Thor: Love and Thunder. So it's better than that. Is that also the experience, the theatrical experience, the exhibition of it was not brilliant.
Right.
And where I saw it, which was in a fairly decent cinema, it's a modern cinema, but the black levels were not good. So that sequence on the bridge, spoiler free, the sequence on the bridge relatively early on was just, I just couldn't see any details. It was just a mess of dark stuff, and it was soft, and I couldn't. So that was irritating me as well, because I wanted to, because that's the first time you potentially get to see some of the designs of some of the characters, and all I could see was just a mess of blurry stuff, and so that was annoying me as well. So that wouldn't have helped. But yeah, as I said, and I get what you're saying. I think you're right. I think how they handle it is very sensitively done and very appropriately done. I think, and I know what you're saying, John, about perhaps not happy how they did it, but I think they did it respectfully, and I think they did it and so that's at the beginning, and then you get your little bit at the end again without any spoilers. Right. But I think all the stuff in between was, again, it doesn't just so much as kind of make the point, is hammer it home, and then when you've just finished having it hammered into your head, they then go, right, we're going to do the other side now. Sorry, DJ, this will be bringing about post-traumatic stress with like head injuries. But so you've got sort of from one side, then the other side, then the back side, and if you haven't got that, we're going to have another scene, and you're going to see that again. Yeah. And then just when you've got that, let's have another 20-minute scene, or at least that's how it feels, of 2 people talking about what they've just been talking about. So there are subplots galore. that could go from that, and it wouldn't affect the story. You wouldn't miss it. And as you say, and I think you're right about streaming. People that want, they want more character development. That's fine, but don't make a movie as long as a series. Right. If you're going to do that, release it on Disney Plus. Make it a series. I mean, Wakanda Forever, the series. Oh yeah, that's fine. I can digest that in hour-long or 50-minute chunks. Don't make a movie that's as long as a series and make you sit through it, because it burns up all the goodwill quite quickly. But point. I think John and I have opinions on it is probably the minor one, because its reviews are through the roof. I mean, most people are absolutely loving it.
Yes.
Well, I think part of that is. Do you think there's a chance? And we're gonna get a little bit crazy here and go like controversial. Do you think? No. Do you think people are saying that because of the Chadwick? Like, it's hard to say. Oh, I didn't like it because of that feel, And it's
there could be some of that. There could be, and yet do you get that impression from your average movie critic that they're that sensitive to it?
Yeah.
Not the average, sure. But I think not the average, but it's not like I haven't seen, like, to your point, Steve. I haven't seen many bad reviews of it.
Yeah, not quite.
But I agree with everything you're saying. I'm just giving the credit to what they had to do. And the difficult task that they had. And I think as a home theater experience, I think it's going to be really good. Black Panther is a great home theater experience. I think seeing this in the theater like we do. These are previews for us in our home theaters. This is one that's, the colors, the vibrancy, if we hit all of that, the darker scenes, the costumes alone, Black Panther, right? Those costumes alone are going to really jump off of our screens, and there's some good action sequences. There's some great locations, if you will, around the world that are going to play really well in our theaters, I think. So I'm really looking forward to the disc. Got to imagine they're probably going to do a variable aspect ratio somewhere along the line for Disney Plus.
Well, only on Disney Plus. Yeah.
Because they love
great. I'd look forward to that.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot to behold there in the future for us in the theaters, our home theaters, I should say. So
just don't need 2 hours and 40 minutes of it though. Oh, and the other problem it had is as being a massive fan of Apocalypto and absolutely desperate to see that in 4K. There were so many actors in there that were in Apocalypto that I'm thinking I'd rather be watching that, to be honest. So that didn't help me. There were a number of them, and I've seen that film so many times. I'm like, oh look, I think, I wish I was watching that
enough to recognize them. But...
I would talk about a theatrical or a cinematic movie. That one all day long. Anyway,
all right. What's your next one, Steve?
Okay, now this one, then you can help me out, guys, as to whether it's out in 4K over there. The Running Man. Now, is that out in 4K over there yet?
I think it just came out. Running Man came out.
I don't know. I haven't seen any reviews of it over there, but it's just come out here. It came out
November 1st. Running Man 4K came out November 1st.
So 2 weeks.
So I watched that this week. Now, obviously, the film is the film, 88, because it was the next film that Arnold Schwarzenegger did after Predator. Very cool. The film still holds up. And in fact, it's probably more relevant now than ever in terms of current sort of socio-political approaches to things, especially over here, not so much over there, politics free. So the film's as good as ever. It is aged perfectly well. It's not bad. But the 4K disc is awesome, really good. Now, this was quite the way I remember it is that this was quite for Schwarzenegger, quite a low budget film. It was one of his mid-budget movies that he did, like Raw Deal, like Red Sonja, those sorts of ones. He had the AAA releases, and then he had the sort of mid-budget ones, and this was one of those. And yet it's never looked better. It looks absolutely phenomenal. It's not been scrubbed clean. It's still got grain, but it's really finely resolved. The HDR on it gives it all new life. The wider color gamut looks great. And the audio. Now, the audio is bizarrely on the disc. It says Atmos, and yet it's only Dolby DTS HD 5.1. But if you upmix it to Neural X, it sounds amazing. The bits where the contestants are loaded onto the chute, loaded onto the carts and fired down the chutes. That sequence is almost demo worthy. It
Almost
goes right around the room. Almost.
Yeah.
Well, you can hear it. You can hear it above you. You can hear it to the sides and back as the shoot's going down, and as the camera's going down with them. It's all around the room, and genuinely you feel back in your seat as if you're going down the chute.
Yeah.
And there's a number of them. They do it a couple of times in the movie, and it is really, really nice. And I was very pleased with that. I wasn't expecting it at all. I thought, well, it'll sound all right, but it should hopefully look good. But it sounds amazing as well.
That's awesome.
So I definitely recommend that. That's a really nice disc.
I'll have to grab that one.
Yeah. It's
I've been eyeballing it on. It's out on.
Is it on Kaleidescape?
Yep.
Yeah.
4K.
It's well worth picking
setup.
up.
Add it to my list.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Well, that one should be another one that should be relatively cheap. I mean, it's it's not a AAA release, so hopefully it would, and it's definitely worth it. It's really nice. And nice to see it. I mean, this is the biggest screen I've seen it on. I didn't see it in the cinemas.
Yeah, exactly.
I was too young, so to see it on. I mean, I appreciate it's not as big as your screens, but to see it, on the big screen and watch it this way was really fun. I had a great time watching this again. So yeah, it was great. All right, so that's my next one.
All right, my next one I have never seen on a screen this big. I've never seen this movie from beginning to end. I've seen clips of it as a kid. I think it was on TV a couple of times on like movie night or something like that. What do we have? What was the Channel 38? What did they call it, John? Remember movie? It was on at night. The Movie Loft.
Oh, yeah.
On Channel 38. They called it the Movie Loft. So I probably saw it on that and then had to go to bed. But, Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid
Play it again,
Bergman.
DJ.
I can't. I didn't want it. Like I was a little kid. It didn't really resonate with me. So
I've never seen it.
You have to get this. You have to seen it. Casablanca.
Yeah.
You haven't seen it, Steve?
No, I haven't. I was
God.
looking at it today. I was looking at it in the thing today, and I didn't buy it. I was thinking about it and thought,
I came up from this. This movie moved me. It was amazing. I mean, the disc is great. I wouldn't say it's like it doesn't have great sound. As a matter of fact, there's an issue with the sound, in my opinion. The noise floor on it had like you get the little bit of a okay, so you get that, but right before a character would talk, it would go like almost like if I use a noise gate in the podcast and say you had a fan behind you, it would be gone. But right when you go to talk, it would open up and you could hear that fan behind them, right? So it was a little bit like that, but I have my Neural X on. It just upmixes everything. So this is in DTS 2.0, I believe. So it was upmixing it. I played it in just pure stereo, okay? It didn't get rid of it entirely, but it mitigated a lot of it because now I'm just getting that nice clean stereo. I'm sitting in the center. I mean, the panning everything was fine. Not that there was any panning, but the dialogue was centered and everything. So it sounded really nice in 2-channel stereo, which is what it was probably in. It was probably in mono when it came out in, what was it? Like 41, 42 maybe. Yeah. So, what's interesting is this is spoiler free, but what you'll understand is
for an 80-year-old movie.
For an 80-year-old movie, you'll.
How was the mid-credit scene?
I found out why they called it Casablanca. Let me quote you some lines from the movie. What brings you to Casablanca? I love it here in Casablanca. How long are you staying here in Casablanca? When will you be leaving Casablanca? It's like every time, like normally in a movie, you'd be like, "Hey, what brings you here?" It's like every line in the movie where they could put in Casablanca. They were
marketing.
Saying,
it was all for the marketing.
Yeah. Oh my God!
Sponsored by the Casablanca Tourist Board.
Yeah.
But I would love for you guys to see this movie. It is in the 4K. The image it is so clean. The grain is so consistent. Black and white. It's not as nice of a black and white image as what like I experienced with Psycho. Psycho to me, but that's a newer movie. They cleaned that up really. I mean, it's so crisp. It's so great in 4K. The HDR really shines on that. This here, I just think it's never looked better. And it's a classic and now I know why it's the classic that it is. Cause watching this movie, I was just like, it's very, poignant to today too. I put that line on Mastodon, my first tweet. What do they call it? A toot over there, whatever.
Toot, yeah.
I put Humphrey Bogart's line. He's Rick, And he says, I'm not interested in politics, and the problems of the world are not my department. I'm a saloon keeper. And that's what he just said. It was like, and I loved it when he said it. It was just like, there was another line that he says to somebody. He goes, and I'm like, this guy is like me. He's just so like, And I've been in this situation. He's a saloon keeper. He's walking around, and somebody walks up to him and goes, they're talking to him, and he's just kind of listening but ignoring him. And the guy goes, you don't like me very much, do you? And he looks at him and he goes, if I thought about you, I probably wouldn't. And I was like, oh, it's like, I'm like, I've been in that situation. I'm like, you don't like me very much, because I don't like to talk to people out in public, and they come up and they like try to engage, and I'm like, yep, one word, you don't like me, do you? And I was like, oh, I'm going to use that next time. Jen goes, please don't. Yeah, it is so good. The movie, the story, and I was like I said, I came up after watching this, and I said to my wife, I was like, Jen, I'm like, we got to watch this. You got to watch this movie. She goes, I'm dying to see it, because it's a love story too. And I was like, oh, sorry, whoops. But I'll happily watch it with her again. But yeah.
Okay, I'll pick it up. I nearly bought it. I having picked up Halo, which we'll talk about in a minute, hopefully, which only came out here yesterday, and it was there. Casablanca was there, and I was thinking, shall I? And I just thought, I don't know when I'll watch it. So I thought, well, I won't. But on the back of that, I will.
It's not a horror movie,
time I'm
Steve.
over there.
So just warning you ahead of time.
No, I know, but it is a classic film, and if you've got a chance to own it in this kind of format, we should be supporting it, shouldn't we? And there are certain films I think you ought to have in your collection. Lawrence of Arabia is one of them, and I think this is one. And I think there are certain movies that you just should. Spartacus again, Gandhi, I would say. These are movies that are classic films. You've got a chance to see them in this format. You should pick them up. We should support it. Frankly, even if you don't ever watch it,
right.
But I am hoping to. I will on the back of that. You
know what I bought because of this movie? And I was hoping to have seen it by today, but I'm going to see it by next week.
What was that?
Maltese Falcon.
Okay.
Grabbed another one. I was like...
It's the same. It's Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall again, isn't it? Isn't it the same?
Yeah, Lauren. Yeah. This one's Ingrid Bergman, and who's amazing. And I read up on her. I'm like, what was the big deal about? And then you see her in this, and you're like, oh. They're so good. They're so good, especially for the time. And you think about acting today, and you look back at this stuff. It's just so good, so good. I will say, as far as HDR goes, for people that have this or are getting it and they want to look for something, but I don't think it's ever looked this good. But there's a lot of smoking going on in this, and people in the background are smoking. Characters on camera are smoking. Watching that smoke waft by. And then I think this is where, it's not crazy HDR, but it's just the detail that you can see. You feel like you're there. And the cinematography is great. And a lot of this is indoors, but there's some outdoor shots as well of what's the city? Casablanca. That's right. It's like, but that one, that is one thing that jumps out in my head, is that just the smoke. And I hate smoke, but the smoke going on around the characters and stuff, it really pulls you into the scene, and the detail is great. So check that out.
So sponsored by the Casablanca Tourist Board and Marlboro.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right.
So
next up, Steve.
Yeah. So next one then is Halo. Now, you guys have probably already talked about this, already seen it, and it's probably really old news. But I hadn't seen it, and I'd skipped it. We do have Paramount Plus here, but I don't subscribe to it because there's just not enough on there that I'm interested in. So it came out here yesterday, and I'm up to episode 4.
Okay.
Now I need your help with this guy. Have either of you seen the 4K? As in the disc?
No,
I
haven't.
Yeah. I grabbed it on Kaleidescape because I was up to episode 3 on Paramount, and then my son and I were watching together, and then jobs and whatever scheduling, I never got back to it. So when it came out on Kaleidescape, I grabbed it, and now I'm up to 5, so I'm only one ahead of you.
Okay, right. Well, so it'd be interesting to see what you make. So in terms of the series, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm only a casual Xbox person.
Yeah,
I've played Halo 1 and Halo 2. I've completed those 2, but years ago, and I haven't played another one since then. So a long time ago. So I've got a passing knowledge of the world, so I was a little bit trepidatious as to whether I would really get into this or not. But it was enough to buy it. And I'm really enjoying it. I think the series is really good. I'm enjoying the mystery that's unfolding as we go through. And I've just started episode 4, so I think it's good. Home theater wise, image quality, I think it's exceptional. I think it's really, really nice.
Yes.
The image quality, detailed, 3-dimensional, colorful as anything, and the beautiful black on the spaceships where you've got Master Chief there in sort of shadow, and the black levels and the interplay between the dark and the light is gorgeous. Really, really nice. But the sound, now it's in Dolby Atmos. Okay, and actually on the disc, when you go into settings, there's a blurb about what Dolby Atmos is, and so they've clearly mastered it properly. They've spent some time on it. Now it's the environment's really good. It moves around the room. It's all really good. My problem is with the bass.
I thought you might have that problem. There's a couple of scenes similar to Andor. Where it doesn't have the impact that you wanted. Some of the battle scenes, right? But the battle 100%. Scenes are very engaging otherwise, right? There's a ton going on. You just don't get the impacts that you wanted. And when I was watching it streaming, I like it. I just said, okay, this is the stream. I understand what you're saying. Continue, because I'm going to push back a little bit on it, but I agree with you, but I also have a counter to it too.
Well, it's weird. It's weird because it's not consistent. So, in episode 1, within about 5 minutes, episode 1, you've got there is a battle. That's not going to be a spoiler, I don't think. There is a battle, and at some point, a character pulls out a Gatling gun and walks into frame with it, and you're just thinking, oh, here we go. Oh, yes, here we go. This is going to be great. And the gun goes off, and it might as well be a cap gun, pop gun. It's just back, instead of this boom, 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 which you would expect. So I was immediately thinking, what? But then I thought about it. And when I played the games a long time ago, I remember thinking then that the weapons didn't sound like a gun would. They actually didn't have, like you'd play in Call of Duty and all the rest of it. So then playing this, actually the guns don't have that really booming sound. So I wonder if this was a deliberate choice to echo the sounds from the guns in the game. Now, if it is, then that makes sense, because otherwise there is a mistake, because it's not consistent. About 5-10 minutes after that sequence in the first one, when a certain character touches a certain something, and that sounds ruder than I meant it, then so something. I'm trying to talk around it and then not do that. But so then suddenly the sound field comes alive,
right?
And then there's bass, and then and the whole ceiling, the overheads are engaged. Everything's moving around the room, and that's great. And suddenly you can hear some rumbles, and it's like, okay, right, that's great. And there are a couple of other times where ships are going past, where there's a bit of a rumble in the subs. But then there's other times where there are ships that crash, and then you don't hear it. There's no punch to the bass at all. So it's odd, and I'm finding the audio a bit distracting because of it. It's just not consistent. Whereas the envelopment's fine. The overheads are great.
Yeah.
There's some really nice stuff in the surround speakers. It just feels like the bass at times is really anemic or non-existent. And again, it's enough for me to check my subs. I was a bit worried that they weren't working.
No. So here's the thing. I came from Paramount Plus, and I thought it was that. And then going to this, it's better. It is much better. And I'll give you one to try it. Maybe this will help you improve it a little bit. When they walk around, it's a feel. It's like every step they take is like Jurassic World Dominion. It's like, because to give you the feel of the weight of their suits, to give you a feel of like who they are, and just like their characters in this show they're obviously the main characters, but they're serious, all business, which is part of the story. But every time they take a step, they could be off camera, and like Master Chief will be off camera, and you'll hear. But not like you can feel it. It's visceral, right? I actually went back to Paramount Plus and watched a scene from, I think, episode 4 or 5, and to see, I'm like, no, it's a nice bass there. You can hear it, but there's no feel whatsoever. Everything else you're saying, I agree with you, but it doesn't take me out of it because I feel like the improvement you get on the disc compared to the stream in video wise, it's just so much more clear. There's a clarity there. I felt like there's deeper black levels, brighter brights, which really gives you that sense of 3D when you go inside a helmet. There's a lot of brings you right into the video game, but like more real than what you got in the video game, right? And it just brings you into that world in a way that you never. And I'm like you. It's like I never completed the game, but I've played 1, 2. You know, my son had, I think, the later ones, but it was never a big thing. I have a working knowledge of it, but I think the people that liked it the least, when John and I were talking when it first came out, it was the people that were huge fans, and they were like, "Wait a minute, they took their helmets off." Well, like, it's a TV show. What did you expect?
Yeah. It was a bit Mandalorian though when he did that, I must admit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like I said, video wise, there are no complaints from me on that at all. I think it looks gorgeous, and I put up quite a few pictures about it when I tweeted them out because it's like it looked lovely. It's just the audio that I'm finding inconsistent, and I can't quite understand why.
But I like your idea, because that's what I was going to say too. Like, these are weapons we don't know. When in Andor, the scene that the three of us were talking about was like literal rocks dropping that I don't care what world you're on, and unless they keep floating, they're gonna make a boom. And they didn't. They made nothing. You didn't even get a sound. At least here you're getting a sound. It's just not the boom that you wanted. Yeah. But there are booms. I'm getting booms on certain guns. Like if it's mounted to a vehicle, I felt like I got some more boom out of that. But then there's other laser guns that don't necessarily give a boom, which I've always found to be odd anyways. Like when I turn on my flashlight, I don't get a boom. But if I fire a laser, you're going to get a boom. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it might be again. I've said to you before about, you know, watching some other films that have got heavy bass, and then you go to this and it doesn't have it, and is that lack of bass then enhanced or magnified because you've been watching other stuff?
Exactly.
And I've been watching some heavy bass stuff this week, and so that might have something to do with it. But still, I don't get. You know, Gatling gun's a Gatling gun. You know, you unleash this thing.
Yeah.
You know, we've all seen Predator more times than is decent. You know, when Old Painter starts going, you feel that thing.
Oh yeah.
And so to so early in the thing for this, so early in the series, first episode, a character to walk slow motion into frame with a bloody great big Gatling gun, and it just go pap 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 pap. Just with it didn't work for me. But it, you know, as I said,
show's
it's just
good.
inconsistent. Yeah,
it's inconsistent.
I'm enjoying the mystery. It's good. I like the Pablo. I can't think of his surname. The
Schreiber.
It's
Liv Schreiber's like now little brother.
Brother. He's really good. He's really good, and actually bringing some interest to a character that could have been one note. You know, the reason they take the helmet off is so you can emote. You know, that's the whole point. And of course, that's really what the series is about as well, isn't it? Is just discovering their emotions. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't have an issue with that, and that's all fine. I'm enjoying the series. Just the sound is just strange.
Yeah.
Because as I said, it's so enveloping at times whenever the artifact, the madrigal artifact, whatever they're calling it, is sort of kicks in. You get this lovely movement of sound all around the room, and there's bass in that. So it's just odd that in the action scenes it then sort of comes apart a little bit. So but I'm loving it, and it's a really good series, so I'm certainly enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to going through it. The only slight issue is, of course, having seen Encanto so many times as I have, there is a song in that called the Family Madrigal. So every time it talks about Planet Madrigal, I'm hearing this bloody song in my head, and it's taking away some of the dramatic tension. So when they said Planet Madrigal, I'm like, oh no, I'm just hearing this song. You know, it's going in my head.
There you go.
Do you think, by the way, that it's a bit Dune? I get, because all the different.
John, you've seen it all the way through, right? You finished it.
Yes, I finished it.
Is it a bit Dune? At least initially, I was getting Dune vibes.
I didn't get that.
I didn't.
No, I've only seen it once. I've only seen Dune once,
Yeah.
but I just the planets, you know, the dusty planets and the costumes.
Well, there's
and stuff,
definitely
all
that.
Dune.
Yeah, definitely that. But the
there was
political,
definitely Dune vibes.
like the political aspects and the societal things that Dune has, I didn't find.
Yeah, no,
any
that's
of that
true.
in Halo.
Yeah,
But super fun. Yeah, I enjoyed the series a lot, and I probably will pick up the discs. I don't usually buy series discs of shows that I've streamed, but
and finished.
this is one that Yeah, but this is one that
It is good.
Like House of the Dragon, I'll buy.
Yeah.
I may pick up this, but I don't always do that.
Yeah. Well, the
But
image
although you're
quality
scaring me
alone-
off a little bit with the audio, with the
Well,
audio,
I mean,
so-
It's still
yeah.
if you liked the stream,
I mean, it's gonna be
this is
better,
an
but
improvement. It is.
but it's the same thing. I don't expect
Yeah.
much from the stream, so
right.
Yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
just not got that power.
I
that you
think
might
those
expect.
footsteps are worth the purchase. I loved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, they
Every
are-
time
they
they
are,
move
yeah.
around, it's boom, boom, and the picture. You know,
Yeah.
and I agree with you, but I like to. I like the idea of like just look at those weapons as weapons we don't know, and that's why.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I love.
which is fine. Yeah.
I can rationalize that.
Yeah, but it is a good series, and as I said, I think the 4K they clearly shot it at least 4K, if not higher.
Yeah.
Because the detail levels on the faces and the and the long shots, even the CG in it is
There's a
is
shot
really,
you
really
haven't.
decent.
There's a shot you haven't seen yet. I don't think it's in the earlier episodes. They go inside the helmet, but you're not looking out of the helmet, like the video game, like the first person shot. You're actually like the camera is right here in the helmet, and you're looking at Shriver's eye, and then you're seeing out the helmet too. So you're seeing out the gold shield, looking at his eye, but then they have the focus is really on his eye, but then everything starts to blur. It's a fantastic shot, and they do it a few times. And it's just, I just love the detail that you're seeing on this big screen, and you're looking, but it's you're getting inside the helmet. And that's why like people at first didn't like the helmet and coming off, but you're getting to know the character in the suit. And that's the point, right? And now to be in the helmet, looking at his actual face in that helmet and the way they lit that and the way they shot that, I think John knows exactly what I'm talking about. He's seen it, but I think it's just fantastic. And on disc, it's just there's so much more clarity. The 4K stream was fantastic, by the way.
actually, yeah, I was gonna say I thought it looked pretty good
It did.
on
It does.
Paramount Plus. So
It does.
I'd be interested to see the improvements.
Yeah.
on
It's
disc.
again, it's like going from a slightly blurry image, very slight, like almost like a minorly dirty window, and then you take that away and you're like, oh, there's reality. You know, it's like that. And it's very minor. Like if I left and went to somebody else's house, you wouldn't notice the difference. The stream is fantastic. So but worth picking up. I like it.
Yeah.
And by picking it up, we support them putting these things out physically for us.
Well, yes.
You know, which we're dying for. All right, my next one, after going from Casablanca in the 1.33, I had my masking up. What else are you going to watch? And I want to say Shawshank, but this is a long Shawshank. I threw it on Snyder Cut on 4K, Atmos, all of that, and it is just glorious. It took me 3 sittings to get through it. But it was, I love this movie. And I think as far as, I mean, home theater experience, I've talked about it on here. The imagery is just great HDR. It is a tough HDR thing to pull off, right? Because it's so dark, but it is so bright. All those bright images that you have, especially in that final battle scene and everything. It is so good. What was the one that I was going to say? The tones, I think, really play the tones that Snyder used throughout this movie. Steppenwolf looks fantastic in this one. The new costume, but the HDR, the way the chrome, the way that pops off, everything pops off. It's just that, like I said, that final battle, the plan, it's so dark but so bright at the same time is fantastic. And the one little thing, I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but you know, at the end when Wonder Woman comes down on Steppenwolf, the blood spray that you hear from her sword, it's the blood splatter. It's just like, it's like, I hadn't seen it like that in the past, and maybe because I'm looking for some, but it's just so, again, dark scene, but still relatively dark, I should say. But then you could see the blood on her sword too, and that kind of has a sheen, like a wet look, like shiny wet look of that blood on their sword. So good. Yeah, it's a long movie, but I think as a standalone comic book movie, this is one of those where, as a standalone movie, I love this movie. I think it stands all by itself, and yeah, I just love it. So, all right, Steve, why don't you go while those charge?
Yeah, I think my last one then. I've done a couple. I've got a bit of a mini series, a mini film season of The Rock going on at the moment. So I've been through a number of them recently with others. And I've watched Jungle Cruise this week, first time in 4K. Now I've watched the Disney Plus version, but this is the first time watching it in as I said, in 4K disc or on 4K disc. I think it's great. I really enjoyed it. It's actually a really fun film. I mean, presumably you guys have seen that as well.
Disney Plus, I watched.
So yeah, so I really enjoyed it. I think it's really nice. The 4K disc is really, really good. Image quality is great. There's a little bit of Disneyfication going on in terms of you need to bump it up a little bit more than you might normally. But then once you do that, it actually yields a really decent soundscape. It's in Atmos. It's pretty good. And sounded very good. So well worth watching and picking up if you can find it relatively cheap now, which I suppose you probably could. It's not bad. It's not bad. Very, very Pirates of the Caribbean, isn't it?
I enjoyed the film a lot.
It's way better than it could have been. Yeah. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I enjoyed that. So, and I've just started watching or rewatching Jumanji, which is again another Sony disc, and it's absolutely fantastic. So continuing with the mini Rock film season in Cinema George.
There you go. Let's see, what else do I have? I got Tulsa King. This is the one, John, you've seen as well.
I did. Yep.
And it's not really a home theater movie, but episode 1, Stallone, I really enjoyed it. What did you think, John?
I liked it as well. I thought in the very beginning, I thought his acting was suspect. I mean, I know we're talking about Stallone. He's not, going to win any Oscars ever, but it smoothed out as the show went on, and it actually, or it got less distracting. I don't know. Maybe I just got used to it, but yeah, I think it's gonna be a good series. I liked it.
Yeah, fish out of water, fun. It's just I enjoyed it. As home theater wise, it has variable aspect ratios in the first episode, but other than that, I don't think it's going to go on anymore. I don't know, but all right. Let's see. What else do you got, Steve? Because you seem to be the one that should be talking.
Yeah, no, you're okay. I think I've done with my lot now. Yeah,
okay.
I think that's me sorted after busy week and lots to come. Next few days, plenty to watch, including Lawrence of Arabia, as John and I were talking about earlier. I've got 3 days off now to really sort of get through some stuff.
Let's see. All right, we'll do that Lord of the Rings clip next week since we're all pressed right now. Yeah. So we'll talk, because I think that's going to be a conversation. So we'll save that one for next week, and that came from.
We'll do our 3 demo sequences as well that we sent to you.
Yeah. You want? I forgot I even forgot all about that. Want to push that to next week too?
Yeah. That way, Steve's charge might not last.
Yeah, exactly. What was that? A listener that asked that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he emailed you, and then you forwarded it to us.
I forwarded it to everybody. So we'll get to that one. I don't even know where I put the email. I should have been in there, but we'll get to that next week as well. And I just wanted to end with my final thing is that starting Friday, I will be watching one a week, Hawkeye, revisiting Hawkeye from last year, because it is a Christmas series, boys, and we're leading up to the holidays here. It's a great series. Is it not a Christmas series, John?
No, it is. I mean, again, in as much as it takes place at Christmas, Christmas is not the central theme of the show.
No, but it's very festive. They're in New York
trying to
City.
get home for the holidays, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean,
yes, he is. He's just
main thrust, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess it is a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a good series. It's fun reason to
enjoyed it.
revisit it. Do that every Christmas. I loved that series too.
Yeah.
So, all right. That will do it for this week. All of the trials and tribulations we went through, but we got it done, boys.
We did.
All right. We'll be back. I'll be back on Tuesday. I'm not sure what guest yet, but I will be back on Tuesday with something. Thank you to everybody watching the stream. And I don't know what we're doing next week. Do we know a title for the show yet?
For this show?
Yeah.
No.
What do you
I didn't
think?
watch anything, so.
Got to workshop it.
You want to do Wakanda Forever?
You could call it.
Yeah.
Why don't you call it or Casablanca?
Oh, we could. Well, you guys haven't seen it, but I loved it.
Well,
It's up to
Wakanda
you.
Forever then in that case. Yeah.
Wakanda Forever.
Title of the show: Wakanda felt like forever.
Yeah.
There
fine.
you go.
Let's do
I'm
that.
not putting that on the screen, on the title page. But yeah, there you go. Wakanda Forever, because that was a good discussion. I think that's the main topic. So we'll go with that. Other than our listeners and all their great experiences, but all right, that'll do it for this week. John, what does everybody got to do?
Go push play.
All right, Steve, do you have anything else to say? We got to come up with a tagline for you now.
Yeah, it's going to have to be something English, isn't it? Cheerio.
Or it could be Spanish. Ooh, that's
adios.
it. Say go push play in Spanish.
Te vas a empujar a jugar.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, let's try that again. All right, John, what does everybody got to do?
Go push play.
Y te vas a empujar a jugar.
That is right. Hey, Fred. This has been a Hey Fred production with theme music by Jeff Bernhardt and Throne Vault Productions.